There we go. We're on.
The bat signal hasn't gone on. Dave is checking on his bet for tonight's game between the Packers and the Commanders.
Take the Redskins. I'm a Redskins fan.
Who we don't exist anymore. But,
I like the Redskins. I like Joe Theismann.
Well, your season ended after last week.
Well, that's true. You know, always the Redskins. Just like it's Giant Stadium, it's never going to be MetLife Stadium. I also like.
how about Yankee Stadium?
Who won the Super Bowl for them?
Yeah. Doug
I
Williams.
didn't know why you went back.
Doug Williams. So, and I also was a big Gibbs fan.
How about Riggins?
Who?
Riggins.
44, right?
We're live. Okay. Ready, everyone? I've been ready. I mean,
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm ready.
they're ready. Let's go.
Welcome from a man who.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hillsborough Township Planning Board meeting of September 11th, 2025. Please join me in a salute to the flag. Please be advised this meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Publics Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law. Notice of the 2023 annual meeting schedule has been provided to the officially designated newspapers, Township Clerk, posted on the Township's website, and available here at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex. In addition, application documents and plans have been made available on the Township Civic Clerk website at least 10 days in advance of this evening's meeting. Complete application files are available in the Planning and Zoning Department for inspection in accordance with the public meeting notice. And with that, may I have a roll call of Planning Board members and also Board and Township professionals, please?
Ms. Smith, Mayor Ciccarelli, and Committeeman Lapani are absent. Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Flagg?
Here.
Mr. Radowitz?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mr. Deb?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Vice Chair Peason?
Here.
Chair Sirachi?
Here.
Mr. Coyce?
Present.
Ms. Ball?
Here.
Mr. Bernstein?
I think I'm here.
Mr. Mayhew? Here. And myself and the videographer are here.
Okay, welcome, everyone. As it was noted during the roll call, the mayor and then the committeemen are not here right now. They're actually at a 9/11 ceremony over at Woods Road Firehouse. So, with that, I think it would be appropriate for us just to take a moment of silence in remembrance of those who lost their lives 24 years ago. Thank you. Okay, we do not have meeting minutes for consideration, no resolutions for consideration, no planning board business, no ordinances for consideration. So I will go for business from the floor for matters that are not on this evening's agenda. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up and provide any comments to the board that's not related to this evening's agenda, please feel to come up. Okay, seeing no takers. We're going to be moving on to tonight's public hearing. The first one I know was a last-minute scratch, so,
A last minute request for a scratch.
okay.
Apparently, the pitching arm is a little tired.
Hopefully it's not.
Michael?
So we will bring up Green Care Farms LLC, file number 24-PB-09-MSV. Did have a time of decision of September 30th, 2025, and right now the applicant is looking for an extension and to be adjourned to a date, I guess, somewhere in the future without further notice. So, Mr. Grodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Grodnick, Savage Rock Law Firm, on behalf of Green Care Farms. It's a major subdivision. Looking at the agenda, we felt probably wasn't going to be squeezed in for this evening. So we're requesting an adjournment without additional notice, and we've executed and already submitted a time of decision through the end of 2025.
Okay.
We have the October 9th meeting available.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep.
So may I have a motion for adjournment to reconvene at the October 9th, 2025 meeting with the time of decision extended to the end of the year without further notice?
So moved, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Flagg.
Yes.
Mr. Radowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Vitale.
Yes.
Mr. Deb.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chair Peterson.
Yes.
Chair Saraji.
Yes. Okay. As they say, that was easy. So, next up, SPG Hillsborough LLC, file number 25-PB-02-MSPV, time of decision. We've already passed the time of decision, so it's listed as September 12th. Is that a typo?
You looking for a motion?
Oh, no,
You looking
tomorrow.
for a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, no, I'm already tomorrow, so that's my mistake. Sorry. Okay, Block 143, Lot 12.01, commonly known as 315 Roycefield Road. The applicant is seeking amended preliminary and final major site plan approval, bulk variance, and waivers to add an additional 34 parking spaces to the existing 71 parking spaces currently on site, to consist of striping only to the existing asphalt location to the rear of the building along the drive aisle on the property located in the I-2 light industrial zone. And I will turn it over to representatives of the applicant.
Closer, Counselor.
Good evening, members of the board.
Move the mic close, as if you're literally talking right into it.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. For the record, my name is Luke Pulley-Castro from the law firm of Lentz, Goldman, and Spitzer on behalf of the applicant SPG Hillsborough LLC. This evening, the applicant is seeking amended preliminary and final major site plan approval to add 34 new parking spaces to the existing parking lot in connection with the one-story, approximately 54,600 square foot commercial and flex warehouse building on property located at 315 Roycefield Road and identified as Block 143, Lot 12.01, as identified on the township's tax map. The property comprises approximately 5.965 acres and is located in the I-2 zone where the existing use is permitted. While the applicant meets the township's parking requirements, the applicant proposes additional parking to meet increased demand generated by the existing tenants, including the Pickle Jar, which is an indoor pickleball facility. No new variances are required. However, there is a pre-existing non-conforming condition with respect to the minimum lot width that is to remain. The applicant requires a design waiver with respect to the minimum parking space size proposed. The record will reflect that the design waiver can be reasonably granted because the proposed parking space size presents a safe planning alternative and an overall safe design. In support of the application, the applicant will rely on the testimony of George Folk, the applicant's engineer. Just as a matter of record keeping, the applicant would like to acknowledge that is in receipt of the following review letters: the July 22nd, 2025 letter from the fire marshal, the September 5th, 2025 board planners letter, and the September 8th, 2025 board engineers letter. And would I just be able to have an HDMI cable to connect? And just before we begin, I do have exhibit packets that I can pass out for the board. We can mark them as evidence as well.
Counselor, just for your edification, we mark exhibits one at a time, even though it's multiple sheets.
Okay.
No.
No. Okay.
We're keeping him busy. The boss is watching.
Okay. With that, I'd like to call first witness George Folk, the applicant's engineer. And George, if you would you just give the board the benefit of your background and qualifications?
Practicing engineering for 40 years, licensed for 35 years. License is current today, as of today. Been in front of this board in the past, and in front of many boards in the past.
Does the board accept his credentials?
Any objections? Okay, seeing a lot of head shake no, so we accept. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And would you just confirm that your office, you get to move. And would you just confirm that your office prepared the site plan before the board?
Yes, it did.
Okay. If you would you also just go through the existing conditions on the property?
The existing conditions on the property is existing 54,000 square foot commercial flex warehouse building. It's relatively new to the township. It's been recently built. You want to flip the page? There's 71 parking spaces that exist. There's a drive aisle that goes all the way around the building. It's a two-way drive aisle.
We're trying to make a bit of heads or tails on here to make sure we all have the right exhibits the council pointed out. So if you'll give us a moment.
Sure.
Does everybody think how many packets are we looking at, council?
There should be 5 total. This is the site plan that was submitted, so I don't know if you need to,
5 pages to 1 packet?
this is 3 pages.
I suspect we're going to be working our way through this a little, so. Why don't we, sorry, Mr. Folk, why don't we start with, go back a page. That's A1, council?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Folk, for purposes of the record, can you indicate what A1 represents?
A1 represents the cover sheet to the submitted site plan set.
Who's the author?
Right here. I still didn't hear you.
He asked who is the author of the site plan.
Oh, my office. I am.
Okay. And what does A1 depict?
A1 is a cover sheet for the site plan set. It's an overall key map of the project site. Includes zoning data for the site, current users, parking spaces associated with the users, and a list of adjoiners.
Thank you. Council?
Okay. Proceeding now to the second sheet in the packet, which will be marked as A2. Mr. Folk, would you please describe what the board is looking at?
Certainly. A2 is an existing site conditions map that was authored by myself and my office and Gary Marmo, my surveyor. It depicts the existing conditions on site. Topography on site and the physical features that are present on site.
And while we're on the existing conditions, would you please elaborate?
It shows the 71 parking spaces. They access on the Roycefield Road. We're on the west side of Roycefield Road, just south of the Landscape Materials, Inc. property. Across the street is the GSA, the county facility to the east. Our property is accessed off of Roycefield Road. and there's parking spaces along the frontage of the building, and this application is to install parallel parking spaces along the rear of the building, in the drive aisle that accesses around the entire structure.
Now, moving to the third sheet, we'd like to mark this as A3. This depicts the applicant's proposal on the site plan. And if you would just go into more detail into the applicant's proposal, please.
This is the proposal in front of the board tonight. It's the parking plan. It's we intend to restripe existing pavement that's out there. This project does not propose any new impervious coverage, no improvements whatsoever, except for the painted stripe on existing blacktop. We're showing handicap spaces being installed, 2 of them, and then 34 spaces for parking, additional parking on the south side of the building, on the west side of the building, at the rear of the building. So essentially turning a 2-way driveway into a 1-way circulation around the building in a counterclockwise rotation.
And if you could, would you just touch on the size of the parking spaces proposed?
The handicap spaces are 10 by 20. The proposed parallel spaces are 8 feet wide by 22 feet long, which I understand from the town, it's a waiver for that size. We request a waiver for that. The town's length is 20 by 10. Parallel parking is typically narrower than perpendicular parking, and it meets with the the standards in the industry here in parking. So it's acceptable parking spaces at 8 by 22.
And is it your testimony that with that parking space size, regular vehicles as well as fire apparatus would be able to safely circulate around the back of the building?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, our spaces could go to 9 feet if the board so chooses, and still safely navigate around the entire structure with a fire truck apparatus, an E100 apparatus, which is a tandem-wheeled aerial truck.
And as for other deliveries on the site, what type of deliveries are anticipated based on the existing tenants?
Truck traffic, as far as tractor trailer, we don't expect many, if any. The site addresses that with a simple K-turn into the loading dock on the northerly side of the property. Again, the tractor trailer is we don't think there's going to be any need for that, if at all. Typically, it would be a box truck for some kind of supplies for the pickleball court, maybe UPS trucks, Amazon trucks, Grubhub vehicles. I don't see any large trucks on the site being users. And the intent is not to have any tractor trailers drive around the back of the truck, around the back of the building anyway. They will be precluded from driving around the building. We will not allow it.
And for the board, would you please just touch on the status of the outside agency approvals for this project?
The Planning Board, the Somerset County Planning Board has approved the project as they find that it has no impacts to them, and the DNR Canal Commission has given us a letter of an exemption as there are no improvements necessitated by this application.
It's all the direct testimony I have for this witness.
Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll direct the board's attention to our review letter dated 8 September. Specifically on page 2, the applicant mentioned the parking space dimension varies from the township ordinance. Our office takes no exception if the board was inclined to grant a waiver for that parking space dimension. As the applicants testified, parallel parking is usually a little different sizes than a 90-degree parking. Under our general comments, number 1, we requested a fire truck turning plan. We received something called a turning template plan from the applicant's engineer dated 9/10. A quick review today appears to show that the fire truck would be able to maneuver. I know the fire chief had a concern about the decreased width of the access. Based on the plan that we were submitted, it appears the fire truck can maneuver around the building with the additional parking. Our other comment was, number 2, provide a truck turn analysis for the largest delivery truck. I would suggest if we're going to condition approval, we would like to see that K-turn on the plan.
Certainly.
Our third comment was about spot elevations. I'm assuming that's something that could be done as a condition of approval, just documenting ADA parking meets the requirements. And that I'm assuming if approval was granted, you would agree to update the parking chart showing the required ADA parking spaces. The last comment we had was number 6. The ordinance requires buffers along street lines to help mitigate the view of loading areas. The L-shapedness of the building provides a unique challenge because you have the entrance eliminates an area that you could put plantings. Also, our office received today, I don't know if you're going to provide this exhibit, some views from the street. Is that your intent to show
Yes.
that with the next witness, or?
We can bring it up right now if you'd like.
My only comment would be is for the board to take a look at that and decide where they feel like the intent of the ordinance has been satisfied, or whether an additional evergreen tree or 2 would help the situation. If the board was so inclined, would the applicant be willing to add if a evergreen tree or 2? But as I was stating, I think that's for the board to take a look at what the applicant submits and make a decision. That covers our review letter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had some communication with the engineer trying to clear up as to the exact formula that was used. So in correspondence with him, we're in agreement with what he has on his plans in terms of the number of spaces required. What we ask as a potential condition of approval is that the formula is included in the plans, specifically to each one, so that
Yep.
future us will know where that came from.
Certainly.
Again, the engineer already addressed the waiver request for the aisle, and Mr. Mayhew addressed that as well. The only other comment we have, because it didn't seem like it was included with the prior approval, we just asked that anti-idling signs be clearly posted on the site, just to protect the property owner in the future, so that the property owner isn't the one that's getting the tickets for potential idling, that it's actually would be the people keeping their vehicles on. So we're just looking to get that on the site plan, just to protect the owner. Other than that, that's all we have.
Thank you. Okay. Board members. None? I got questions. Okay. Thought someone would already ask this. Because I see in there, the handicap spots are going around the building also. Is there access to those units from the side and rear of the building?
The handicaps spaces are located, there's 5 of them spread out across the entire frontage of the
It's just the
building.
front?
And those spaces are essentially trying to, spread out so they can address any tenant that may require it.
Okay. I thought you had mentioned that there were additional ones going around the building. There aren't any going around the building?
Handicap around the back of the building?
Right.
No.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned that, okay. And then just as far as, because obviously this is going to be anticipated for clientele, again, a question about access to I'm gonna call them each one of these businesses or entities, is it strictly through the front of the building, or, like, any folks that are gonna be parking around the back of this building, do they have to walk all the way to the front?
Sir, I think the operator is here tonight, and he could probably answer that way better than I could.
But you don't have any
I know
designated
there's
walk-
doors back there, whether they're, the front doors are in the front of the building. I'm sure there is access for each unit as far as the fire concerns go. There's,
Right, for the exits, but I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, because I don't, and again, maybe I'm not seeing it, but I don't see any pedestrian walkways or anything around here, so that's why I'm asking if people are gonna be expected to walk around to the front of the building, or if they're gonna be
Yeah,
crossing this.
My understanding is that these extra spaces are for the pickleball people that come at certain times and they're, concentrate at that time. There is a 5-foot wide, no parking, fire lane up against the building, all the way around the back of the building. So there is a dedicated 5-foot strip that's, out of the traffic. And, if they're there for exercise, maybe a little exercise, warm-up, walking to the front door. I'm not sure, sir, if there's a back door to the pickleball courts, but again, Gil's here, he could maybe discuss that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
Mr. Falk, do you recall when this application was approved?
I'm sorry?
Do you know when this application was initially approved by this board?
Oof. I've been involved with this project for probably 20 years. It was subdivided back in 93, this lot, somewhere around there, 96 maybe. Then it was sat dormant for a while, and then it was brought up in front of the board years ago for this building, and then subsequently sold to the current owners, and then now this application brought before the board. So I would say that application for the building construction was probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago,
Okay.
5 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I see in Mr. Mayhew's
Has
review
the,
letter, the
has
resolution from
the
2020.
size of the building
2019.
changed from then till now?
No, sir.
So can you, or council is going to call another witness, explain to the board why the applicant is seeking 34 more parking spaces for a similar sized building that this board approved in the last few years at 71 parking spaces?
I think I could answer some of that. I mean, I was at that meeting, and I think a lot of this board was there. That Ron, the owner of HAL, he wanted more spaces at that time because he was afraid of this happening, because he had users in other places that this happened, and everyone chose to go with what was currently there, I guess, and that's how we came to what we have today, and now we're back in front of the board asking for additional spaces. But yes, Gil is here. He could probably perhaps explain why 34 more spaces are required.
Thank you, sir.
But it is primarily tenant-driven based on the new pickleball tenant that's coming in, so.
The board needs to at least have something on the record. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Falk, what's the lighting in the back of this building?
It's what's out there today. It was approved by the board, and in fact, the CO was recently received for it, but there is substantial lighting on the site.
Is it lighting attached to the existing building, or are there freestanding posts with
There's-
lights around the back?
There's lighting behind the curb that faces towards the building.
Okay, there
And-
is.
Yes, and there may be some lighting on the building around the doorways, probably by code, a light, safety
And there's
light.
no anticipation of, no anticipation of adding any additional lighting now that there's going to be parking in the back?
I would testify that the lighting it meets township standards for illumination. currently.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask then, Mr. Coyce, do we have different lighting standards for just general driveways versus pedestrian, walkways?
Our lighting standard applies, and Mr. Mayhew, possibly if he has more information, it's very specific. It's basically one standard is my understanding. It doesn't change from a driveway to other parts. I don't believe it goes into that detail.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Coyce is correct. The ordinance does not differentiate different illumination levels based on the use of the area. I will, for the record, based on the existing site conditions plan submitted by the applicant's engineer, there are light fixtures shown along the rear drive, and it looks like there's 6 or 7 poles located along the rear.
Are there currently around, again, I'm not to you, I'm sorry, going around the building, are there speed bumps?
No, sir.
Okay. Would the applicant be willing to put some in there, to slow, obviously to be, call it traffic calming, because that was used a long time ago once, as they approach those corners, because obviously we're going to have folks, walking around the corners. I have a feeling.
Yes, they will.
Okay. So, and those will be added to the plans as a condition. Okay. Okay. Any other comments before I open it up to the public?
I have a question. Just as far as in the back of the building, are there any loading dock doors? back there?
Loading docks?
Loading docks for this?
No.
No. It's all just regular doors?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion to open the public?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. If there's anyone from the public that would like to ask, question this witness on his testimony, please come up. Okay. Seeing none, we can move to your next witness. 'Cause I think
At this time, we have no further witnesses.
Counsel, you may want to call the employee representative.
Okay. At this time, we'd like to call Gil Adoni.
Losing points for that
All
one?
right, and we're going to swear you in over here.
Gil Adoni, G-I-L.
Mr. Adoni, bring them like
O-N-I.
closer to you, that one, because it pulls.
Okay. Oh, Gil Adoni, G-I-L-A-D-O-N-I.
And what is your role within the applicant?
One of the members.
Would you just explain for the board's benefit why this building needs additional parking spaces?
The building has a pickle jar in there and also has a play for kids. So they kind of get hit in a wave of parking. So it's either really busy or really slow. You won't see anybody there. It just depends on the peak hours that they are busy. So what we see happening is most of the employees parking in the back and everybody else parking in the front. With that said, and that's why we kind of want the back parking in the back.
So are there essentially just two businesses there, or is there?
That's the major business. There's GSA, which has got like 8 employees, which is not much. There's another tenant there that does IT, computers. Really no customers there. There's also Eastern Torque, which they're not open yet. They're in the business of opening, but they're not really. A lot of customers will be there. I don't see that like customers coming in and out. Stuff that they'd be doing inside the warehouse.
Okay. Mr. Bernstein, anything more that we need? Okay. Mr. Mayhew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would this be the appropriate time you want to share with the board some existing photographs of the street view and the landscaping and
Yes, and actually, I would direct your attention to the packets already submitted. There are 3 photographs of the existing building. Apologize if the computer has died and won't be able to put it up on the big screen. We'll talk to the law firm about that one later.
Okay.
Um,
So I guess just for the record, who took each one of these photos?
Gil?
One of my employees,
Okay, and about approximately the date?
today,
Okay,
this morning.
okay. And I guess, do we individually number these, or can we,
Do we have a proffer as to who the photographer is and when they were taken?
yeah, we just, the owner, or the operator did.
Okay.
Yep,
Mark them all as A4.
okay.
Gil, could you just explain what currently exists on site today in terms of landscaping in front of the building?
As you see, it's dressed up really nice in the front, which kind of buffers everything in the back. I don't see any other additional planting needing, obviously with what's there. You can't really see the back of the building driving, on Roycefield Road unless you're actually going in. So I'm not too much worried about the dock, seeing the dock. It's kind of to the side of the L if you're looking at the building. And you see the landscaping, we keep it very nice and well landscaped throughout the year.
And I believe across the street is county property?
I think so.
That's what I think. So, okay. Ms. Boyce, any?
Mr. Adoni, are you familiar with what the original approvals were for? Do you have a history of that at all?
A little bit, maybe.
Okay. My understanding, and just for the board's edification, because the board counsel had asked the question, this site was originally approved as a warehouse. And it is my understanding, looking at the records, that the original parking that was contemplated there was based on the warehouse use. And in terms of you owning and operating the site, my understanding is that you have a number of different tenants and uses, correct?
Correct.
And each one generates a different amount of parking that's required, correct?
Correct.
So that's when we've reviewed everything, breaking it down from tenant to tenant. That's just for the board's edification. That's how we've gotten to the number, at least to the 71 number, because again, the site was approved at a lower number, and that's because it was, I believe, 1 space per 5,000 square feet per warehouse. But the code goes down into other uses, and as they have started to fill the space up with other tenants, different uses have different parking requirements. And so each zoning permit that's been issued, that's where there's been additional parking needed.
That got you to 71 or the 105?
71. That's how we got to the 71 minimum, 71.
So what's the basis for the extra 34? Based on the calculation of
Are you
parking?
asking me?
Well, I'm asking, you've reviewed the plan. I gave up at least my planning degree a while ago. The recommendation here is for additional 34. I'm assuming is based on additional tenants.
Yeah, on the tenants, right, on the tenants that are there in
Are
our
the-
warehouse. having
Are the
more space.
spaces reserved in the sense that they're assigned to the various tenants?
Right now, they're not reserved.
Is there an intent to do so?
If I need to.
Leave that to the board.
But
Right,
just to comment
go ahead.
on that, it gets hit in a wave, so
Yeah.
if the pickle jars at one time might use a lot of it, so if it's reserved, but
Mr. Chairman, I have no questions for this witness.
Board members? I mean, the only thought I have about, maybe, you made a mention about, maybe the employees will park
Yeah.
in the back. That might be at least something to direct them to the back, to leave the spaces in the front open.
I definitely see that happening.
question, I guess probably for our professionals. I mean, based on the zoning and the property, is there enough space to
Into the mic, sorry.
Is there enough space to put parking lot or, some spaces in front of the building? I understand would be a little bit more comprehensive to build that out, but just curious.
I mean, just from a zoning perspective, and thinking about it, so I'm not sure how close they are. I'd have to look at the bulk standards, but then you run into impervious coverage, you run into additional stormwater and things like that. I believe the intent was to try to work within what they have to do the least amount of impact. For us, as we're looking at it, we're trying to make sure can the site operate safely with parking spaces proposed where they were not originally in. And, on their end, they needed to look at, okay, it was two-way, so they're going down to one. And then so that's where we started looking at our standards and things like that. And Mr. Mayhew and myself also asking for the parking, like the turning templates and things like that. So from our perspective, again, from a zoning and planning standpoint, this is the least amount of impact on the site working with what they have. But I defer to Mr. Mayhew on answering the rest of that.
I don't expect you to do the calculations right now. I was just curious.
Well, as Mr. Coyce said, I think the goal was not to increase any impervious cover. So to answer your question, if you stay within the existing pavement footprint, I don't readily see any other areas to introduce parking unless you were to create an issue with the loading docks that are at the short end of the L. There's additional pavement there, but that's probably necessary to allow trucks to back into those areas. So nothing jumps out at me.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Where were we open to the public, right?
Public, still
It's,
open to the public.
It's still
so.
open, signing. So if anyone from the public would like to question this witness of his testimony, please come forward. I do not see any takers. So. Counselor.
We have nothing further. Ask that you respectfully approve the application.
Okay. So now this is the final bite of the apple for the public. If the public wants to chime in on their thoughts of approval for this, please come forward. Again, I see no takers, so,
Motion to close.
yep. Motion to close to public.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You're closing.
Once again, the increase in parking is solely driven by high demand, but based on the existing tenants, and we'd respectfully ask that you approve this application.
Okay. Mr. Bernstein.
Well, the question that I raise is a question for the board, which is whether or not you want the applicant to at least either designate employee parking and/or suggest that they designate parking for the various tenants. Otherwise, apparently there is such a need for an additional 34 parking spaces that it may become difficult for some people at some times to find parking and others at not.
I'd see no need for assigned parking. I mean, we know that
Bob?
what they said is, volumes fluctuate based on time of day or whatever. I don't see any need for.
Yeah, I agree with
assigned
Mr.
parking.
Wagner. I think leave it up to the operator if they feel that there's a need to designate parking and have their tenants
No,
organized.
The
then
other
that's-
issue, the
that's
other issue
their-
is employee. Whether it was raised by a couple of the members of the board, whether or not the back end of of the building might be more suitable for employee parking versus tenants, visitors.
I just think the issue with that, again, I don't think it needs to be something to impose on the property owner, because you don't know how many employees they're going to be, you don't know how many parking spaces are necessary, not necessary, and to limit in some way might be overburdensome for what they're trying to do, from what it sounds like.
Board is discussed, board is debated.
I agree.
The application, Mr. Chairman, is to approve SPG Hillsborough LLC, file number 25-PB-02-MSPV, Block 143, Lot 12.01, 315 Roycefield Road, seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval, C bulk variance as set forth by the testimony of Mr. Falk and comments by Mr. Mayu and Mr. Coyce, for an additional 34 parking spaces to the exiting 71 parking spaces currently on site, striping accordingly.
Excuse me, Mr. Bernstein?
Yes, sir.
And that would include the speed bumps?
Mike,
All the
ever agreed?
conditionals of approval that were agreed to
Okay,
during testimony.
just want to make sure.
And
Thank you.
and that's my question exactly, just with regards to that, do we need to put something in an approval as to the number of speed bumps or where they're going to be located at this time?
I'm
Or,
going to say to work with Mr. Mayhew to his satisfaction, but it probably should be, at each, as he approached each term, because that would be where,
is that acceptable to the applicant?
That's fine.
Thank
he
you.
was going to become speed bump guy. So. Okay,
With with potentially multiple speed calming devices to be determined.
traffic calming.
Traffic calming
calming.
devices to be worked out between the applicant and the board engineer.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
to approve.
Okay. Any final comments? Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Flagg? Yes. Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mr. Deb?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
Mayor Sarachi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna. I don't care what you number them. I don't care how many or where you put them. It may not be speed bumps. It could be something else. A calming device is basically the vernacular I keep being told is where we are. Luke,
He's in California.
Luke,
You good? I'm going to go right into the next one, okay. Okay, as we transition
race
over,
around the park-
next
thank
up
you, Ken.
is
When they race around the
HMG
parking lot.
Fuel LLC, file number 24-PB-03-MSPV, time of decision September 30th of this year, block 142.02, lot 17.01 and 18, commonly known as 144 Route 206, or also Route 206 and Park Avenue. Applicant seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval, C bulk variances and waivers to consolidate two lots to construct a 3,450 square foot convenience store on site where a service station exists with associated improvements on property located in the HS Highway Service District and the ASD Architectural and Site Design Overlay District. And with that, Mr. Ogrodnik.
Good evening, members of the board and professionals. My name is Michael Ogrodnik, Savage-Ock Law Firm. Here today representing the applicant HMG Fuel LLC. As indicated, this is on 206 at Park Ave. Long served this community as a service station. Looking at the aerials, it looks like it was built sometime between 1956 and 1965. Today, we're here to present an application for the modernization of the site that will enhance its utility and aesthetic appeal consistent with the permitted conditional uses in the HS zone. As indicated by the chairman, it's a proposal to add a convenience store, 3,450 square foot convenience store to the existing station and completely rebrand the site as a Phillips 66. Site upgrades include the installation of an underground detention basin, sidewalks, curb, drainage, trash enclosure, landscaping, and EV charging. Subject property, based upon my research, has always been the existing lot size of 1.02 acres. With respect to the zoning, this gasoline stations with convenience stores are permitted conditional uses in the HS zone. And of course, we're not before the Board of Adjustment, so we meet the conditional use standards, which are as follows. It has to be equal or greater to 100-foot setback from any residential use. This complies. No outdoor storage of wrecked or damaged vehicles. This complies. Parking requirements, 1 space per employee plus 2 per service bay. This complies. Retail parking requirements are 3.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. 12 are required and 19 are proposed. And a trash enclosure at least 30 foot from the property line, which that complies. With respect to the bulk standards and the variances necessitated by this application, as indicated, this is an undersized lot. It's 1.02 acres. It's a 2-acre zone. That's a C1 variance. The lot depth, again, existing condition required 250 feet. We're at 157 feet. Again, a C1. The front yard to 206 required 40. We're proposing 29 feet with that building. The rear yard is 75 feet, and the existing canopy is 40.3 feet, which is a nonconformity that exists today. And impervious coverage, maximum is 60. We're proposing 67.4. There's also some pre-existing curb cut widths that are no longer permitted, but we think really don't impact the site negatively. A one-way width is, even for a service station, is only 12 feet. Right now, we have a range of between 49 and 52 foot on the curb cut. And then the two-way width, maximum 24 feet, and we're proposing 38.9 feet on Park Ave, again, for site circulation and vehicular ingress and egress to the site. The right-of-way width on 206 required is 86, existing is 66. There's also a variance or waiver for tree spacing. We have some wires that get in the way, so we'll talk about some landscaping with our site engineer. And then the parking on the front and the side, on the front and side parking, which necessitates a variance. As for signage, we're proposing a monument sign of 84 square feet, and we're also proposing to put the price of fuel on the sign, which is in variation with the ordinance that just requires the sign content limited to the sign, the station name, which would be the Phillips 66 rebrand. Surrounding areas include Tequila Grill and Bar to the south, East Coast Print Shop to the northwest, and Amwell Auto Body to the north. And again, of course, across the street is the store space storage center. As for architectural style, we've really spent a majority of our time both in informal conversations with the municipality and our site professionals. We're trying to design this in a modern vernacular style, referencing the aesthetic of the classic agricultural barn and that respects the rural character of the surrounding area. We think the architecture on this is great. I think it's a good improvement for that stretch of 206. Prominent features including steep pitch gabled roof, a cupola, wind vane. We think it's a thoughtful combination of vertical paneled siding, evoking the look of a traditional barn with a stone veneer base that grounds the structure. This design approach moves beyond the typical commercial aesthetic to provide a structure that is both functional and visually appealing. Not only a convenience store, but a positive contribution to the visual landscape on Route 206 in compliance with the architectural site design overlay zone for building massing, scale, and style to be consistent with the community designs. We have submitted notice in accordance with the municipal land use law publication in Hillsborough Beacon and of course, the supporting affidavits of publication and certified mailings. We have 3 witnesses tonight. We have Eric Hoff, he's our civil engineer. We have Jasvinder Aranji, our architect, 4 witnesses. We have Gary Dean to provide some brief traffic testimony since this is on a state highway, and John Aquino, our professional planner. And of course, we have the applicant, Mr. K. Hall, available to answer any operational questions. Site's open 24 hours a day. We want that flexibility, although we intend to operate the facility probably from 5 a.m. to midnight. With that, I would ask that we swear in our civil engineer, qualify him as a professional, and go over the existing conditions.
I do. My name is Eric, E-R-I-C, Hope, H-O-U-G-H.
So, sir, you're a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey?
That's correct.
And
Mr.
you've,
Ogrodnik, your client can
Thank you.
just make sure he talks into them.
and how long have you been practicing as a civil engineer?
Well, I first graduated from Rutgers University in 2006 with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and I have been working at Burton Engineering for over 19 years as a design engineer, and I'm currently licensed in the state of New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, for purposes of the record, let's note at 8:02, Committeeman Lapani and Mayor Ciccarelli have arrived.
Sorry to interrupt.
Too late.
And your license is active in the state of New Jersey?
That is correct.
And have you testified before planning boards and zoning boards in the past?
Many in the state of New Jersey, yes.
Could you just go over the existing conditions for this site and the proposed conditions?
Yes, at this time, can I plug in?
Okay, and first, just real quick, board members, any objections to the qualifications? Okay, so we accept.
All right, so the first sheet I have here is our cover sheet, which is sheet C 1.1 of our site plan set. The property is a irregular rectangular lot at the intersection of Route 206, which is a state highway, and Park Avenue, which is a municipal road. The site address is 144 Route 206 and is on the northbound side of the highway. The property is lot 18, southbound, I apologize. The property is lot 18 and 17.01 in block 142.02. There's a total of 474 feet of frontage, including approximately 260 feet along Route 206 and 214 feet along Park Avenue. The lot area is 43,666 square feet, or approximately 1 acre. It should be noted that the applicant bought lot 18 from the township in July 2022, hoping to add a C-store building, which this is the subject of this application. Lot 18 is 6,285.9 square feet, or 0.14 acres. The lot width is 294.1 feet, and the lot depth is 157.2. There are 2 easements on the property, one 10-foot wide sewer easement along the rear of the site, where the sewer line seems to be, the existing sewer line seems to be outside of this easement, and there's an aerial utility easement at the intersection. The lot is in the HC Highway Service District, which the use is conditionally permitted. As far as the surrounding uses in the area, to the north of the site, there's a 1-story Amwell Auto Body Shop. To the south, across Park Avenue, is a 1-story restaurant. To the east of the site, across Route 206, is a 3-story self-storage building, and to the west is a 2-story office building. Just to go over the existing conditions, this is sheet C 2.1 of the site plan set. Currently, there's an existing fueling station with a 27.75 foot by 84 foot canopy, which is 2,332 square feet. There's a 100 square foot kiosk with limited sales. There are dispensers for car and truck fueling, with a total of 9 dispensers with 12 fueling positions. There's underground storage tanks located south of the truck fueling location. There's a propane cage, closed drop-off, and a trash enclosure, all located on the site. There's currently a 26-foot tall freestanding sign on the north side of the property. The sign area is 84 square feet. The impervious coverage is approximately 46.4% of the site, which is 20,599 square feet. And it should be noted, based on historical aerials, the fueling station, as we see it, was built between the years 1972 and 1979. There was a small fueling station with a repair garage building in 1963, which contained a driveway to Park Avenue, which was located closer to the intersection to Route 206. So to go over the proposed improvements, I would like to share an exhibit. This exhibit is the landscape rendering. This is just a...
Want to mark this as A1?
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't believe the current rendering is a color, is that correct?
Correct. This is a landscape rendering dated 9/9/25. This is basically just a colorized site plan to depict the landscaping and the different coverages on the property. So this shows the proposed improvements. It's proposed to add a 1-story, 3,450 square foot convenience store building and associated improvements. The fueling station will remain and shall be rebranded to Phillips 66. Other site improvements include building sidewalks that will meet all ADA requirements, a proposed trash and recycling enclosure located in the north corner of the property. There will be air pump and vacuum occupying 2 spaces located on the north side of the building. There's also an EV charger for 2 parking spaces, also located on the north side of the building. It is proposed to replace the freestanding sign with a lower monument sign. And as far as parking, there's a total of 19 parking spaces proposed, including 1 ADA space, where 15 spaces are required based on municipal requirements. There are some interior seating proposed. So if this is considered in the parking requirement as a restaurant, the additional will be based on 1 space per 3 seats for 6 more spaces required. That would bump up the requirement to 21 spaces required, but it would only be 19 if you take into account the EV credit. So either way, the 19 spaces provided would comply. As far as circulation, it's proposed to keep the existing driveways on Route 206 that have curb openings of approximately 49 feet and 52 feet in width. The NJDOT is working on highway plans that will change the site frontage while keeping the existing driveway locations. So this proposal will work with those modifications. It's also proposed to add a 2-way free movement driveway along Park Avenue with a curb opening of 47 feet wide. This is located on the north side of the building. Most traffic will follow a counterclockwise circulation within the site. And the fuel delivery will occur over the tanks, and any store delivery will occur under the canopy, where these fueling spaces can be blocked off. As far as grading and drainage, the existing topography gently slopes towards the intersection. The site sheet flows towards the Route 206 southern driveway, with the closest inlet towards the intersection of Park Avenue. It's proposed to regrade the site for the proposed improvements and ADA compliance. The site will continue to sheet flow to the Route 206 southern driveway, and a trench drain is proposed at the Park Avenue driveway. The impervious coverage will increase by 9,669 square feet, which increases the coverage from 46.4% to 67.4%. To account for this, a 1,874 square foot Coltech underground detention basin is proposed to mitigate the additional impervious, collecting stormwater from the building roof and a portion of the pavement. I've reviewed the board engineer's comments, and the applicant can comply with all of the board engineer's drainage comments. All utilities are available along the street frontage, the sanitary on site, and new connections are proposed. A couple of the proposed utilities can be relocated outside of the aerial easement to address one of the board engineer's comments. There was just a little section where our proposed connections went through that easement, so that can be relocated. As far as landscaping, we have 7 trees will be removed, and based on the trunk sizes, 18 replacement trees would be required. It should be noted that there are 5 existing trees along the north side of the property that will remain. Proposed landscaping that we are providing include 10 deciduous trees, 10 deciduous shrubs, 43 evergreen shrubs, and 52 decorative grass plantation. There are new shade trees proposed, as shown here, along the rear and side property lines. However, we do not have shade trees proposed along the NJDOT right-of-way along Route 206. This is due to the presence of overhead wires. There's overhead wires along both frontages, both Route 206 and Park Avenue, and we also have the aerial utility easement located near the intersection. Saying that the applicant will pay a cash equivalent to a tree fund for this deficiency. I believe it's $500 per tree per section 188-164E. Moving on to lighting. There are 5 proposed LED downlights on poles with a 16-foot mounting height. There are 13 LED canopy downlights which are existing with a 15.5-foot mounting height. These are flush with the canopy deck. And there's also 2 soffit lights on the building with a 12-foot mounting height. The average light intensity is 3.95 foot candles with a max under the canopy of 16.69 foot candles and a minimum of 0.09 foot candles. These intensities are already low, in my opinion, based on fueling station standards, and I don't believe they should be lowered any further for security reasons, such as there's going to be transactions under the canopy. So I believe the intensities shown are adequate. There are a couple other notes. The off-site public average is 0.35 foot candles with a max of 2.07 foot candles, and the off-site private average is 0.09 foot candles with a maximum of 2.1 foot candles. And finally, there was a note in the board engineer's review letter. We can add any additional construction details as per his comments. So that's pretty much my direct testimony.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I direct the applicant and the board to our review letter dated 8th of September. And I'll specifically turn to page 3. It appears the applicant's engineer has addressed our comment too about making the adjustment for the utility easement. I didn't hear any discussion, and I'm trying to avoid going through every single comment here, but I didn't hear any discussion about providing sidewalk along Park Avenue and a pedestrian connection between Park Avenue and the building.
Right now, we don't show it. We have building sidewalks around the building. As part of the NJDOT plans, they will have sidewalks. So we can provide sidewalks along Park Avenue. Right now, there aren't any, so we aren't proposing it, but we could provide sidewalks.
So I'll leave it to the board's discretion, but our office would recommend, according to the HS zone, to have sidewalks and appropriate ADA ramps on Park Avenue and at least one pedestrian connection from that sidewalk to the building.
Okay.
Is it safe for me to avoid the simple comments here? I don't want to ask you to blanket say you agree with every comment in the letter.
We're comfortable with that. We went through this, and we're comfortable with that
So
condition.
what I want to just do is hit the highlights then,
Yeah.
or things that I think it would be helpful to clarify. Our office is a little concerned about the number of parking spaces. I understand the math that you have explained. I think at some point it would be helpful for the board to understand the use of the food area inside the building. You mentioned there's a seating area, and there appears to be an area for preparing food. So I think it would be important at some point to put on some testimony, because I think the question comes down to, and I'll defer to Mr. Coyce as well, the township doesn't define a convenience store. And so I think it's important to understand, is this going above and beyond a convenience store and therefore need more parking than 3.5 per 1,000 square feet?
There will be further testimony by the architect about the building and the floor plan.
Okay, so I'll revisit that at that point. Can I assume the utility comments will be addressed?
Yes.
The grading comments will be addressed. And I understand you've agreed with the stormwater comments. I just want to clarify one of them, because it may be the most interesting one to address, and that's comment number 3, to meet the infiltration requirements. I saw what appeared to be a submitted test pit analysis, and it appeared to have some good infiltration rates, but I didn't see any recharge calculations in your stormwater. So are you agreeing to perform those calculations and add that?
Correct. We can update our drainage report with that.
Okay.
information.
And then, so I assume the rest of the other comments under stormwater will be addressed.
Correct.
Okay. Under landscaping comments, is it your intention to, rather than adding 10 more trees, to pay for the trees, as I understand?
Yeah, there's really no additional space to put trees because of the conflicts I described, the overhead wires along the frontage. So that was the intention, yes.
And then under landscaping, comment number 4, our office encourages a possible modification to your sign detail to try to follow the ordinance, which suggests, utilizing stone in the architecture for the
We
sign.
can definitely look into that and provide that.
Okay. Under lighting, I understand your concern with safety, and our office is not recommending revisions to the lighting under the canopy, but we do recognize and point to the board the intensity on the other areas of the site are significantly higher than most commercial sites that we've seen approvals lately, and so we would ask to work with your office to try to minimize some of those
We will work-
non-canopy areas.
Absolutely. We will work with you and see what we can do about that.
Okay. And would that include working with trying to minimize the spillage over the northern property line?
Yeah, we can even think about putting a fence there to block it, but we will look into avoiding any spillage. It's minimum right now, but we can look into minimizing it less.
Thank you. Also under lighting, I saw a color rendering that was submitted recently, and it didn't appear to show the actual lighting fixtures in the canopy area. And I'm sure the board's aware of, there are a lot of different types of ways to light under canopy. I would like to have some more details. Our goal is to avoid, and the ordinance requires, that these would be recessed, so you're not looking at the luminaire.
You're talking about the
provide-
canopy lights under that are
Yes.
flush with the...
Well, that's what we don't have any information that I can see
Okay.
that explains that they're going to be flush.
We can provide additional information, sure.
Okay, so there's not going to be a light fixture hanging under the canopy?
No.
And I'm assuming you agree to the truck turning comments to help our office review those turning circulation plans?
We can comply and we can modify that. I will say that this is an existing movement, and I was on site today, and I saw a truck clearly exit the site without going over any curbing or going into the opposing lane of traffic. So I believe it's existing to remain, and there's no issue with truck circulation, but we will update our plans accordingly.
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
for a scale that allows us to confirm.
We'll blow
the
it
line
up.
work.
We can blow it up, yeah.
Thank you. I'll defer traffic comments to Mr. Dean, and I think I've heard you would agree to update any details.
Yes.
So that covers our review letter, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Ms. Boyce.
Sorry, Mr. Mayhew, just wanted to check in. Did you also have comments? And if not, I could ask. Were we recommending additional landscaping on Park Avenue where they only show the lawn? I didn't want to bring that up if you already had hit that.
That, you're correct. We've discussed it verbally, but it didn't make it into a review letter. So,
Got it. Sorry to
all
put you on the
yours.
spot. So, yeah, and perhaps when we talk to the architect and talking about what that side of the building looks like, but based on what's currently proposed, I guess we're trying to understand why there was no landscaping proposed on that side of the building.
Well, as long as there's no conflict, I know there are overhead wires
Okay.
going down the east side of Park Avenue, but maybe some additional low shrubbery we can look into doing.
Okay, yeah, we wouldn't want it to anything with the site triangle, but something to, kind of enhance that area if possible. And then my other question is, or clarification, so you indicated that NJDOT does plan to put sidewalks on Route 206.
Correct.
Will you be able to show a rendering? I'm thinking potentially, would you be able to add some sort of sidewalk to connect so that people can walk into the
Absolutely.
center?
We could definitely do that. We don't show it on our plan right now because we don't know when the DOT is going to do that.
We are
but-
more than familiar with how long
So
those
when
projects go.
and if the DOT does that, they can certainly add a sidewalk connecting.
What would be super helpful is to have a plan in there showing that and a note that would be in there. Just what we would hate to have happen is the sidewalks get put in and then, people are just going to make their own path right? So why not just plan for that design now? So that would be our recommendation there. And then the area where the gasoline will, like where the truck will be fueling and everything like that. I don't know if you have any details on the logistics of how that works. Like, do you see a conflict with people trying to park, especially if it's 24/7, people potentially trying to park, and then where the truck may be doing the refuelings?
No, we have a turning template showing that it doesn't interfere with any of the parking, and these are normally during non-peak hours as well. So I don't see an issue with it, but we do have a traffic engineer then get more into it,
Okay.
but I don't see a potential issue.
Because is there an angle that they would be parking in order for it to? Because I see you showed the angles in terms of how it's turning, but
Yeah.
my question is more, or our question is more geared towards when it's parked and it's actually fueling the fueling station.
Yeah, I would say it would be on an angle to not go into.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else? Okay. I believe the rest of my questions would be for the architect. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to hit that was in my report as well. I think my only other comment is actually adding some anti-idling signs, as you had heard me in the other application. So just getting that added to the plans.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I just, there are several dimensional variances requested and waivers. Mr. Gronick, is there going to be testimony on, like, building it within the setback line? Is this the witness that?
I mean, we have a planner to justify the
Okay.
variances.
So you're going to be bringing him up
yes.
to talk about?
Yep, he'll be our closing witness.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members.
I did have a little concern on the widening of 206, and I don't, that job. Sorry about that. The question is, because in that area, it looks to be right up against the curb, so I don't know if the new part of the road is going to go further to the south. I'm not sure how they're going to, and I know we can't, what if they never do it, right? And that job's not going to get started until the end of 2026, maybe 2027, depending on, and so we're talking about the future here. But I know we're talking about curb cuts and whatnot, and I don't know if if they decide to go two on that side of the road, does that impact where you're putting underground water storage? Does it impact anything on the site?
No.
Because they also have to move
No,
utility
it doesn't.
poles.
We accounted for the future DOT plans, so it wouldn't affect our proposed development. The curb openings are going to remain the same as they are now. They're just adding sidewalks, and we allocated for this space. So there shouldn't be any conflicts now.
Okay, I'm just, the way there's going to be 2 lanes there, plus grass, plus sidewalk, which might end up under your canopy. That was my concern, is that it might be so invasive from the state.
It wouldn't affect our design.
Okay.
It couldn't go that far.
All right.
I would say Mr. Mayor's concerns are pretty valid. It's almost what I remember, this gas station. And we've seen this gas station change hands from several years that I've been in this town, right? I think it used to be a Texaco. Before it was something else. Then it became Laura's. I remember this place very well. It's sort of the choke point out here for entering into the Hillsborough's business district, as I see. Here is a question, and maybe it has been answered, but I'm going to put it out there again, not being part of the proceedings on this case before, if there was any. The number of variations that we see requested, right? They're pretty significant. Are we redoing everything out here? Are there any tracks of variances? Because there are other occupants who occupied this place, right? Other owners, right? Have there any differences? Because what I want to do is very narrowly define the scope that we have here for our board to kind of understand.
Well, the variances I see, there are front yard variance, side yard variance. The building is positioned there to accommodate the circulation of the site. So the building really has to be located there. Other than that, we have a total impervious coverage where there's 60% of the site required max, and we're at 67.4. So that's a variance, and again, that's for circulation of the site. But we're accounting for that with our detention system. Everything else is existing as far, there's a significant amount of variances with the widths of the driveways, but those are existing to remain.
Okay, so that sort of answers my question. In the checklist that we have, several are already approved. We are aware of them. Okay. The other question, again, maybe it might have been tackled there, pardon my not knowing about it, but obviously we expect some kind of an increase in traffic out there because of the new convenience stores, et cetera. And am I hearing, did I hear someone say here that there's going to be a separate testimony about the traffic?
There is a
implications?
separate traffic expert to testify about the increase in traffic, and there will be an
Okay,
increase.
I'll reserve my questions for that session then. Thank you.
Yes, during the Environmental Commission meeting, we discussed that the site is located in an area of known groundwater contamination. Have the LSRPs or environmental professionals for that contamination been notified of the proposed development?
I wasn't there for the Environmental Commission. I know the architect was, so he can probably testify to that.
Okay.
Can I add a follow-up question, Mr. Chairman, to that?
Maybe.
We're talking about recharge and stormwater management here. Is there still existing groundwater contamination, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
I guess if we would want to make sure from your professionals that recharging stormwater would not cause a groundwater issue or make any groundwater issue worse.
Understood. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, just to clarify, the site is located within two overlapping areas of known groundwater contamination.
I would think you could have an expert LSRP or someone address that issue for the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further questions? Okay, may I have a motion to open to public, please?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. If there's anyone from the public that would like to question this witness on his testimony, please come forward. I don't see much public here tonight, so. That's it. Okay, so.
So our next witness, if you could leave this up here, that'd be great.
Yep.
You want to need a break?
I'm gonna-
Okay, we're going to
Wanna
take
do
a break.
Yep.
We'll do about 10 minutes. We'll reconvene a quarter of.
Philly's
Okay, we're back in session. Mr. Grodnick, the floor is yours. We're back. So what's the score?
0-7, Jordan Love, a nice little pass there. Hold on. All right, so our next witness is Jaswinder Arjani. He's our architect, and he could, I guess, first get him qualified as an expert and then answer some of the questions that you had to button up some of the engineering.
Where you in right here?
I do. My first name is Jaswinder, Jasvinder. Last name Arjani.
Jaswinder, can you please give the board a benefit of what you've been doing for the last 30 years?
I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in architecture. I have been practicing as an architect for 35 years. I have a license for since 2009, that's 16 years. I have been with Burton Design Studios since 2002, and I've worked on various fueling stations, convenience stores, apartment buildings, all kinds of buildings, and I have testified in front of various planning and zoning boards.
And your license is in good standing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I would ask that he be admitted to, and testify as an expert in the area of professional architecture.
Okay, any objections? Hearing none, we accept. Please
Thank
continue.
you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Before I start my testimony, I was here at the Environmental Commission meeting, and you asked the question about the current status of the site. Texaco Shell that owned the station earlier, they are monitoring and they are responsible for the cleanup. There are monitoring wells along the front of the site. And at the meeting, we had talked about for the building adding a vapor extraction system under the slab, which we agreed to, and when we prepare the construction documents, that would be part of that. Perforated pipe and stone set under the building for vapor intrusion. And other than that, I think another question was on the, your engineer asked about the canopy lights. I just want to, before I go, it's on drawing C 2.5, that's on the board. It's a lighting intensities plan. It's part of the set. It shows the canopy. These are existing and, sorry, changed the, these lights are flush with the deck. They do come down. It's half an inch, 11/16 of an inch. If the dimension is, I don't know if you can see it on the plan. If that answers your question.
Well, maybe you could help the board, because maybe maybe I'm just not looking at this correctly, sir. Help walk us through that detail. What are we looking at?
This is a canopy soffit. The fueling station canopy has lights in there at the ceiling. The old lights used to be those box lights, and they were recessed in the ceiling. The ceiling was cut, and the box was above. And that's where recessed lights came up with the gas associated with the fueling canopies. But these LED lights are really thin. If you see the thickness of the light, it's 11/16 of an inch. That is flush with the ceiling of the canopy.
Well, can you explain, please,
the
two details? Because it almost looks like these 11/16 fixture is sitting down below the canopy. So maybe you can help explain what those two details are on the top.
Those are the drivers for LED lights. Those are above the deck. So the canopy is flush with this. I don't know if you can see.
I see your highlighter. So
Yeah,
you're saying
it-
where your highlighter is,
Is where it's-
that's the bottom of the canopy.
Correct, canopy deck.
Can we add that kind of information to the plan so the building department and everyone else knows
Sure.
what to expect?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'll start with I'll go to the floor plan drawing that is part of the set, and that is sheet. Yeah, sheet C 4.4 is part of the set. It's called preliminary floor plan, and I'll use that to describe the building. Mr. Huff had earlier mentioned, and the building is 3,450 square feet, one-story structure that is being proposed. The use, it's meant for a convenience store with a cook and serve counter, and we are proposing 18 seats. The kind of products that will be sold here are typical of convenience store, things like prepackaged food, bottled drinks, frozen items, candies, convenience items, and sandwiches will be assembled on site and sold to patrons. Besides the sales area, there is utility rooms and restrooms for the patrons. Now, the building footprint, we had, once the applicant acquired that corner piece of property, we had prepared a sketch, and we had come for a pre-application meeting with your team. And at the time, we had a simple box rectangular store proposed. But based on the input and the discussion about the overlay, design overlay standards, we took the rectangle and broke it into two rectangular sections and changed the angle to create more design interest. So what you see on the sheet up there is a convenience store, and on the left is of the sheet is Route 206. And that section is a square, a 40 by 40 square. And the left wall of that portion of the building addresses Route 206. And the right section, which is towards the west, is the convenience store part for shelving and bottled and packaged goods. And that is 36 feet wide by 54 foot roughly in length. And these two rectangles intersect in at an angle, so it will create interesting footprint and form when, and I have a view to show that.
Can we mark this as A1?
A2.
A2, sorry.
Before I go to the rendering that we have of the building, the bottom wall on the sheet is facing the canopy. That's where the main door with the porch is proposed, and it fronts towards the parking and the fueling positions where the patrons can either park at a fueling position and walk into the store if they have to, or they'll pull into a parking space and walk into the store. There is a door proposed on the left side towards Route 206, and as per previous testimony, there is a sidewalk along the building, and once we will connect this to 206 sidewalk when it is installed, so there would be a walk-in from 206 once that happens. The back wall, which is facing Park Avenue, and the west wall currently are blank. And if you see the function inside, it's cannot have windows opening into those spaces. But as your planner mentioned, that the walls seem a little blank on that side because of the windows being on the front, and Route 206, we will add some false windows to make the appearance better so they don't look so blank. This is the rendering that you may have seen in the package, and it is drawing R1. If we can mark this as A3, okay.
Can you indicate what this represents?
This is a rendering, a view from Route 206. It's dated 6/20/25, and it's drawing number R1. So as Mr. Ogrodnik had mentioned earlier, that the building design, we picked a modern vernacular style, and that is what you can see in the exhibit. And this was, when we were at the pre-application meeting, we were asked to look at some of the improvements in city and specifically Walgreens. But at the same time, the applicant has another location, which is in Upper Saddle River, which is very similar. And it's called the Elmer's, which has a very similar look with a silver roof and a red siding. And it is a country store. So using these two elements, we decided the form that we have proposed. The east portion, which is on the left side of the rendering that faces Route 206, as I mentioned, is a 40-foot square, and being a square, we are proposing a hip roof. The slope is 6 and 12, and there'll be a cupola on top of the, on the peak of the hip roof. The eave height is at 14 foot 6 inches, and the finish, as I mentioned, is standing seam metal roof of galvanized steel, a brushed finish, and the walls are hardy plank cement board siding, and this section of the building will have vertical siding, which is bead and board siding, and the windows are again aluminum windows, which will be white colored or again brushed aluminum to match the roof. The top portion, the transom, they are mullions proposed as per the overlay standards. We have kept the bottom portion clean glass. We can add mullion there if your professionals feel that, but we feel this is what gives a cleaner, modern, vernacular look for that section of the building. Now the west portion is slightly lower. The eave is at 12 feet, and this again was intentional, deliberate to break the eave height and break the monotony of the roof style and the elevations. The eave is at 12 feet while the left section had 14.6. The peak of the right side is at 16.8 while the left was higher at 30 feet. We are proposing a mansard here, which is again not preferred by your standards. However, the mansard we are proposing so we can hide the rooftop equipment or mechanical equipment behind the mansard, and that was the purpose. And that is one of the requirements, that the mechanical equipment be hidden or shielded behind a screen. And we thought a mansard would be better to shield the mechanical equipment than a screen or a parapet wall. The finishes, as I indicated earlier, is standing seam metal roof for both the sections, and the walls are hardy cement board, but on the right side, it's horizontal siding. It again breaks the monotony of the wall. So you have vertical siding on the left side or the east side, and on the west side, it's horizontal siding. There are two signs proposed on the building. There's one facing Route 206 and one facing the canopy. The sign facing Route 206, it's better, you can see it better on the elevations, and I can go there, but before I change, the sign facing the canopy, this is 20 square feet, and it's square in dimension. It's 4 foot 5 inches roughly, and the one facing 206 is slightly larger, is 40 square feet, and it's 6 foot 4 inches square. The fueling canopy currently says K Fuel on it, and once it's rebranded to Phillips 66, you can see what the sign would be like. It's 14.1 square foot sign. It's on both long faces, and the opposite side has one too, which is similar to this. And then finally, the freestanding sign, the monument sign, which is replacing the freestanding sign, is on the north corner, which will have a Phillips 66 panel, the store panel, and the price signs. This monument sign will be placed on a low wall with stone finish. Now, I did not mention when describing the building, the left portion, the base is 10 inches base, which will match the bottom style of the door. And then on the right side, there is a stone base, which is about 2 foot 6 inches or 2 foot 10 inches, and that's a stone with windows raised in that section. Now, the same stone is being carried onto the base of the sign, and the canopy, although it's existing, we are proposing to add stone facing to the columns for the bottom 2/3 section of the column, just so the whole site ties together. I think one of the suggestions of one of your professionals was that we use the stone that we see on the Duke Farms wall. We could do that, but those stone sections are pretty large, and in scale, they would not look appropriate on the canopy columns and the building face. We can do that on the sign, which is what the recommendation was. But if we want to tie the whole site together, we would like to use the same stone for every element on the site. But we are open to, if that's what the board wants, we are open to putting that stone on the sign. And to conclude, I would just mention that the civil testimony had talked about the dumpster in the north section, which is behind the sign in this, and that will be built out of masonry, and we will put the same stone finish on the trash enclosure, which would match the stone of the sign, the canopy, and the building. I think we have tried with this to meet the intent of the design overlay zone. The site is in the highway approaches section of the overlay zone, and there are certain aspects which do not meet the requirement, because some of those are for a larger complex with multi-tenants, 2-story buildings, and this building is a 1-story smaller building, but we have made an effort to meet with the standards we can. With that, I conclude my testimony.
I have no further questions for the architect.
Okay, Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, do you have the ability to put up on the screen your drawing C4.3?
Sure.
This is your exterior elevation plan.
Yeah, I should have gone there.
This sheet shows 2 elevations. The top one is the face of the building that will face Park Avenue,
Correct.
and the bottom one will face 206, correct?
Correct.
So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and I think you might have testified. There are no doors nor any windows proposed facing Park Avenue, although I think I heard your testimony now that you would incorporate some elements that might look like windows, but
Correct.
not actually function as windows.
Correct.
And I think I've also heard testimony earlier, Mr. Coyce brought up the concern with no landscaping on this side of the building, so I heard that you would agree to put some shrubbery. So I just want to bring it to the board's attention that this is what they will be looking at on Park Avenue, and just make sure you're comfortable with that view.
Why don't we mark this A4?
It's drawing C4.3 preliminary exterior elevations 2. And yes, we agree to add window elements, which will look like windows on this wall. And shrubbery, subject to the easement, there is an aerial easement there. I don't think there should be a problem adding shrubs in that area. So we will add some shrubs.
Okay. The other question I had, if we go to the floor plan that you had earlier,
Yeah.
Before you leave that, you might also want some signage on that side. I'm just making a suggestion for something to, another architectural feature. You have it on the lower elevation, but something similar on that face too.
Sure.
Just something to
Yeah, we can add.
add features to that
Correct,
wall.
yeah.
So, thanks,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayu. Thank you.
if you could go back to sheet, you've already had it up there, sheet 4.4, which is the floor plan. And I think our office had mentioned earlier our concern that there may or may not be enough parking proposed. I guess I would like a little bit more detail about that area that you're on the left where the seating is and it says cook and serve, because I want to bring to the board's attention, in the ordinance, there is a parking category for what's called quick food, and that requires one parking space for every 30 square feet. So I guess we want to make clear that this wouldn't, or the board wouldn't determine that it's quick food. Or if it is, then there'd be a waiver because you wouldn't meet the parking for that. So I think maybe more testimony on what's going on in that half of the building, I guess, would be helpful.
Sure. The applicant has other locations which are similar to this, so it's easier for me to describe from what I see in those locations. And they do have, it's a convenience store with a section that would have a section where they can cook and serve freshly made sandwiches to the patrons. They also have one location they have seating, one they don't have seating. But a big part of their cook and serve is also they get orders from people and they supply to schools and in the other location. I'm telling you what happens. I don't know if it'll happen here or not, but there is people don't in those locations don't hang out. So in terms of we have seating, they'll come, they'll eat and leave. So it is kind of a place where the food will be served in the sense they won't have, it's self-service, they won't have waiters doing that. But it's not a fast food in terms of like a McDonald's or a Burger King or that kind of, it's not like that. Yeah, it's a deli section.
You said that there's a site existing similar to this?
They have in, it's in Upper Saddle River, if you know of. It's called Elmer's. I can even give you the address if you.
And do you know how much parking is provided for that site?
They have, I'm sure they're less than 19. I don't know exactly the numbers right now, but I'll give you the address if you're. It's 359 East Saddle River Road in Upper Saddle River. It's called the Elmer's.
That's the only questions I had for this witness, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. Thank you.
Of course. No, you're up.
15? Okay. There are 15 in Upper Saddle River. That other location, they have 15 spaces, they just told me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So you're saying there's 15 parking spaces in the Upper Saddle River
Correct.
site. Do you know what the square footage of that site is?
No, I do not remember. Yeah. I mean, I can provide that information if you're.
Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Thank you.
For the for the HS, well, for the corner lot, it would allow 2 signs. Right now, you're currently at 2 signs, but I believe
Right.
the one sign you have, it's it's facing directly at 206.
Correct.
And so usually the preference is to have a sign perpendicular so that as the traffic's coming, they can see it. So you may want to consider, instead of putting that one there, to put it on the park side so that people would see it. If you wanted to potentially add a sign, that would just be an additional, I believe that would be a waiver. Yeah, because I believe that's through the design standards. Believe that would be a waiver if you requested a third sign.
Yeah, we would like to, I think Mayor also suggested that
Okay.
we add one.
I appreciate the effort that's been made architecturally to add everything. Thank you for considering and wanting to add the facade, the faux windows to that side. I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, questions?
Just a couple quick ones. You didn't testify. Are the signs illuminated or not on the building?
We're proposing it to be illuminated, yes.
Okay. Have they submitted a sign? They meet design standards as far as sizes and everything, and standards for that?
There's a variance for the monument sign. The ordinance requires that it's only the station name, and we're looking to put also the fuel pricing on the sign, which is typical in
Makes sense.
modern signage for gas stations. And then the monument sign size is a maximum of 30 square feet, and we're proposing 84 square feet.
And the signs on the buildings themselves, they meet the
They're
standard?
conforming,
They're conforming, and they'll be illuminated?
backlit illumination.
Okay. Do we have a standard as far as colors in our zone, as far as what they have?
We allow a mix of colors.
Okay.
There's nothing standing out that they would require any waivers for what they're proposing right now.
Okay. With regards to the stone and Dukes, I think if you at least try and mimic the color
Sure.
as much as in style, necessarily the size of the stone. I understand they're much larger boulders, but so at least from an aesthetic standpoint, they blend with the large walls from Dukes.
We'll do that. And we can turn the direction to make them more vertical instead of horizontal, which is what Dukes is, but the scale will be smaller.
Can you show me one more picture of
So just to understand, so you're calling cook and serve, but really, are you actually making hot sandwiches as well as cold deli? So it does have a mixture of.
Correct.
that kind-
Yes.
And so people would place an order, wait in the queue till that sandwich is made fresh, so they might be sitting, waiting for the sandwich to be ready, and then pay and leave or eat there.
That happens, but a lot of cases these days have mobile orders, so they order in advance and pick it up. It's
So you
it's
have-
very common these
You
days.
have that ability to do
Yeah,
that?
yes.
Okay. All right. There was something else, but it escaped me, so I'll defer now. If
Okay.
it comes back to me, I'll jump out.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one additional thing to add. Thank you for adding the colored rendering. It's very helpful. It's focused too much on the black and white. We do have a technical requirement in our sign ordinance that is asking for usually a darker background. And so basically proposing white internally, you would just technically need a waiver. The concern, I believe, in the ordinance is that the bright white light can be a little too bright too often. So technically be a waiver. We do have signs throughout town that do have that, but that would just be a technical waiver unless you were going to do a dark background with white.
For the store,
Oh, the
we are
country store.
looking-
I see the country store.
For the
Okay.
store, we are, it's a dull color.
That's the one you want. Okay.
Yeah, and the Philips 66, they have their standard, so that changing that would
Yeah,
be.
that's fine. That wouldn't need the waiver. It would just be the country store sign to have the predominant white background. That wasn't something I saw until I just saw the color rendering.
I think we can consider that, but can we ask for a waiver and then try and meet the, so we don't have to come back, or? I don't know, I'm asking.
You could ask.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
ask the board.
But we'll make the effort.
Okay.
Or even white, we have in the past made them more opaque, so it's not translucent, so the light is very faint.
Yeah,
It's not-
we just want to make sure it doesn't go over
Yeah.
the brightness.
Correct. We
Good
have
hearing.
done in the past for signs, make the white is not translucent, but it's opaque.
Yeah.
So,
I just would hate to have it, you know, you get your approval potentially and then go all the way to the zoning permit and you get denied based on that. So I just want to make sure that gets cleared up.
let's request a waiver.
Mr.
Yeah.
Coyce, we do have a sign review committee,
It's true.
which you get through this process and something comes up with the sign, it's more efficient. You just address the sign.
Sure.
So, but while we're talking about the signs, and you mentioned that Phillips 66 has their own standards. Is that why the sign is that much bigger than what's allowable? You know, we went from 30-something square foot to 80. So does Phillips have a standard size that they want the sign to be, or is that an industry standard for being able to see the?
No, the sign, the monument sign that we are proposing has three sections, and that together is what makes it bigger. The Phillips 66 section could be a little smaller, but with the other side, which you have the store sign and the price sign, that couldn't be smaller than that.
It's a combination
So we are
of-
just using the whole panel, but it could be smaller in that section, but then it would be odd to have an
No, so
L-shaped
now
monument.
now that I see that,
Yeah.
I see that it's
Yeah.
actually 3 parts.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I remember my question, old age. Is this a 24-hour facility, or is it a closed
We are-
until 10?
We are asking for 24 hours. The owner, I think you mentioned earlier it was 5 to 12 or
Yeah,
something.
so I know you missed this in the introduction.
Sorry.
No problem. You're doing your duties. So we're asking for 24 hours, just like Quick Checks that are north and south of this location, but we intend to operate this facility from 5 a.m. to midnight.
Sorry.
All right, so this I'm going to be looking at David or Matt, or Mark. With regards to this cook and serve, to me, it seems very similar to Quick Check. So I'm just wondering, how is the parking over there? Because it seems to be about the same amount of seats over at Quick Check, too.
I could look.
But I'm kind of
What's interesting about the Quick Check is they get the parking almost, or at least around the 3 sides, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm just curious for comparison purposes, not necessarily the square footage, but I mean, it's, I think they have about the same number of seats, and you can probably, guesstimate, that the business of people going in there and ordering is probably going to be very similar. So. While they're looking up at that, you guys gonna be New Jersey Lottery?
I'm
site?
sure they, yes.
Okay, well, that's gonna contribute to traffic, particularly the way it went the past couple of weeks, so.
It is 4.
I guess you have to drive a long way to buy lottery in that section, right? You won't have to.
Over there, but it certainly makes it easier on the ride home, so.
Yeah, so Quick Check has close to 35 parking spaces. It just, the site is a little bit different from this one in that this one has an existing canopy right in the middle, and they're not proposing to move it, which by not changing that geometry there and presents a little bit of a challenge, but it's different from the Quick Check in is how compact the Quick Check is located. And to be fair to you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how that was administered at the time. I wasn't here for when that one came in. But Mr. Mayhew and I, when we looked at it, that just jumped out to us and just had a little bit of concern. And then also not knowing exactly the clientele that this is targeted towards, meaning, obviously the site can't handle truck traffic parking, and there's no sort of trucks parking, presented in there. And so that's just where we were a little bit concerned, like, is there going to be enough parking there? So that's the reason why that came up. But technically, it sounds like through the numbers, the formula, and because of the EV, it sounds like they meet the standard, potentially. Or not quite.
Well, Mr. Coyce, I guess it comes down to is what standard from the ordinance would you use to calculate the required parking? If the board's comfortable calling it convenience store, then it's 3.5 spaces per 1,000. If the board feels that it's something more than a convenience store, then other criteria come into play.
And I guess that was kind of my line, didn't phrase it well, but was Quick Check considered a restaurant?
Yeah, and that's the part I'm not sure how it was treated at the time. And as Mr. Mayhew pointed out, we lack a definition. We lack a definition of a convenience store, and depending on the era that was adopted, I don't know what the intent of the town was at the time. 20 years ago, what did the convenience store for gas stations look like compared to what they are now? They've changed. So
I just want to note, we did handle that application. It's been a while.
You did?
For the quick check out of that application.
Glad someone else is here from another era.
So I don't believe it was considered under the restaurant standards, but the one thing I wanted to mention is that for these types of uses, people park in the fueling bays and then go in and order food, because these are fast food type, quick, service operations. So it's not just the parking stalls, it's also all the fueling bays.
Yeah. Now leave your credit card in the door until you get back, so. Anything from the board? Okay. So we are still open to public, even though I don't see much public, but maybe someone's passing in the hallway that would like to come in and question this witness on his testimony. I see no takers. So, thank you. Good job.
Okay, our next witness is Gary Dean from Dolan and Dean. He's our traffic engineer.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm looking for the right time to introduce an exhibit that our office had prepared, and we'd like to make it as part of our review letter. I've shared it with Mr. Ogrodnik, and when Mr. Deb brought up his concern about the number of variances and trying to visualize them, our office had anticipated that may be an issue. So we created a one-page exhibit that may help the board understand the variances, and I'll pass these around.
And just for the record, Mr. Ogrodnik, you're fine?
Yeah, I have no objection to the exhibit, and I think we should label it
B1. Mr. Mayor, your office created this?
Correct. It's labeled Pannoni Exhibit. It's dated 9/11/2025, sheet 1 of 1. It's a colorized version of the applicant's site plan. We show the property line in red. We show the setback line in red. We show the canopy and building in a greenish brown shading color. And then we point out some of the variances to just kind of help the board visualize when you hear that there's a certain setback variance. This gives you a chance to look at it visually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So we have to swear in Mr. Dean?
Yes, sir. Nothing carries over from last week.
Swearing testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
For the record, your state, spell your name.
Gary Dean, D-E-A-N. Pleasure to be back and see so many empty chairs. By way of record, I'm a licensed professional engineer that specializes in traffic engineering and municipal consulting for traffic-related matters, and in that capacity, I've appeared numerous times over the past 40 years before this board, as well as many other throughout the state, and my license is current and in good standing.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
no need to
Board
ask.
members.
We know you quite well.
At the request of the applicant, our office was retained to evaluate the overall site circulation and to assess the projected traffic impacts. For that, we submitted a traffic study to the board dated February 8th of 2024. It's obviously taken us some time to get here. But that report sets forth a basic summary of what the traffic is on 206. Right now, it is an undivided highway with a single lane in the northbound direction, a single lane in the southbound direction. 206 is busy. There's no question about that. It carries 2,200 to 2,000 vehicles per hour. As the board is aware, the Department of Transportation is in the midst of an improvement project to dualize the highway from Doctor's Way, which is to the north of the subject site, where the median barrier and 2 lanes in each direction ends near the, I think it's still a Days Inn. That tapers as one approaches Brown Avenue to the north, and then there's a single lane continuing past the subject property and under the Conrail Bridge past Camp Lane, and then the work that has been suspended near Cisco's facility partly includes the widening, the resetting of utility poles and the like. This one particular section is that missing link that has been really bogged down by virtue of the need to relocate the Conrail line, and that has been the longest lead time in the DOT process. But the intent is to make it a uniform cross-section throughout the community, or at least insofar to the bypass, that will carry the 2 lane in each direction with a median barrier across the site frontage. As a result, and even though it's not prohibited today, in the future, the site will be limited to right turn entering and right turn exiting. When that future occurs, the crystal ball gets a little hazy, and I suspect mayor and council would be better apprised of that than any of us in the public sector. But it is imminent. It's just a matter of when, not if. So our traffic study identified the site traffic. It is, I would characterize, fairly light. We did, in our traffic counts, not only count each of the site driveways, but also Park Avenue. As you know, traffic engineers tend to focus on the peak traffic hours or the commuter hours when conditions are busiest. And during those hours, I again would characterize the site as fairly light. In the morning, we had 19 entering vehicles and 13 exiting. Why the difference? Some were still at the pumps. And in the evening, that was a little more balanced, 18 in, 18 out. So not a busy site compared to certainly some of the others we've evaluated in the township. Our study then looked at industry standard, what we refer to as ITE rates for the projection of future traffic associated with the C-store. As you've heard, it's not a restaurant. It is identical, albeit in a smaller scale, to Quick Check and Wawa that are typically 5,800 to 6,000 square feet in size, and I know that because I do work for both of them, with a lot more parking, a lot more fueling positions. So they tend to be very robust and active stores. They do have a counter where food can be ordered either on a mobile app or at a touch screen. And the patron, if anyone's been there, and I'm embarrassed to admit after a late meeting, I've been a patron and gotten my dinner, that's made to order. It is not fast food where items are pre-made and simply available to the customer. The only thing that's pre-made is a cup of soup
other than prepackaged goods. So it is a component of a modern convenience store associated with a service station, but it is, in my opinion, and you'll hear from our planner, more of an accessory component than a primary use. And the challenge we run into in starting to segregate the building components is there's also a small office space. And if we're going to get that granular a level to say X square feet is restaurant and Y square feet is convenience store, each with their own parking standards, well, then restrooms don't require any parking nor does storage, and then the office. We start to really get away from this being a convenience store. And I think the applicant has been consistent with what I imagine the board considered for Quick Check, but certainly not allocating that separately. And the seating that's available is really limited to those patrons who simply wish to, remain on site. But I wouldn't characterize it as typically a restaurant. Nevertheless, getting back to ITE, we did look at the time of our report, the available ITE data, which was, I'm going to get really detailed, in the 11th edition of Trip Generation. That was the only publication available last year. As of about a month ago, ITE released new data. They do so about every 6 years. And when I compare the 11th edition, which has a somewhat older Trip Generation data, ITE has purged a lot of that antiquated data. In fact, anything prior to 1990 has been removed from the database. And across the board, the projected traffic for this site and this store would be 21 to 22% lower than we used in our study. And we didn't amend our study, but if I did, the projections would be less than we considered. And to put that into scale, I mentioned that we had roughly, say, 20 vehicles per hour. When we use ITE data and go straight to the size of the convenience store, that would generate an additional roughly 55 to 65 vehicles per hour, or 1 a minute. And that's assuming, right, that it follows the standards, and that's the only measure we have to follow at this juncture. And that is the most contemporary traffic projections available from ITE for a convenience store with a gas station or with fueling components. So all of the projections contained in our study, I would say, are overstated in terms of what the contemporary, more recent data would otherwise indicate. Because 206 is so busy, there are, and from our counts, there aren't very many people who try to turn left. I won't say it's impossible because people do it, but by way of example, over the course of both peak hours, as a matter of fact, there were only 3 people out of 20 who turned left to go north. Those people wait a long time. No disguising that fact. That happens at any unsignalized driveway along the corridor. And as a result, for those left turns, you wait a long time. That delay is a minute and a half, and if you're lucky enough, eventually you get a break. As the DOT work eventually is completed, those left turns get eliminated. But in this interim condition, we've estimated that more traffic will try to turn left to go back towards Somerville. I'm not sure why, but people could do it, and they will wait a long time. There's no way around that. Most of the traffic we expect would be, because it's convenience-oriented, right turn in, right turn out, but for the time being, there are no restrictions on left turns. Our traffic study did assume that there would be a minor increase along Park Avenue, literally a handful of vehicles, 2 to 3, just because, and I don't have the site plan handy, but there is some parking along the side of the convenience store, along the north side. And some people, just by way of convenience, may elect to go and use Park. What we also didn't take into consideration is and I'll have to defer to either Mr. Mayhew or Coys. The Brown Avenue Road extension is I don't know if it's under construction or nearing completion. The one thing that wasn't done was to connect Park to Brown. And that was for a very specific reason. It was I spoke with the designer of the Reynolds Group. That was to avoid extensive DEP permitting just because of the amount of impervious disturbance. However, the westerly terminus of Park could easily be connected to Brown, and I'm not sure what the thought process is. I do know that the original concept by the county intended to have Park and Brown connected. So at whatever time that occurs, obviously there will be an alternative for site traffic to go north on 206 and use that connection as sort of a reverse jug handle. In the alternative, traffic would continue south on 206 past Camplain Road and then use the jug handle that's been constructed north of Hillsborough Transmission and on the Cisco property in their front yard, basically. And that's part of the current 206 project. So there are ways to enter and more safely enter and exit the site as these highway improvements come online. The relief we're seeking from a traffic engineer's perspective pertain to the width of the driveways. Those are actually mandated, well, they're existing for one, but secondly, DOT controls the dimension of driveways rather on the highway. The minimum width for a highway driveway that's one way is 20 feet. And I believe your ordinance restricts that to 12. So I'm not going to play attorney, but given that DOT has jurisdiction over the dimension of driveways in their right-of-way, we kind of need to abide by DOT's minimum dimension. More importantly, DOT requires us to demonstrate that trucks can have adequate circulation and the ability to turn. I know Mr. Mayhew caught in his review the fact that one of the templates, I don't recall which one, gets close to or hits the curb. So it needs to be a little wider simply to accommodate the delivery vehicles, the tankers that bring in the motor fuel product. So in my opinion, A, they exist and have done so free from defect, but secondarily, we're required by the state to have driveways that don't necessitate that trucks get into, cross the center line or encroach into a neighboring lane under the 2-lane section. So given the unique nature of the use, in my opinion, there's sufficient justification to allow for the wider driveways, and they will make it safer for the vehicles that need to access the site. Beyond that, the applicant complies with the amount of required parking. It may even exceed. I don't quite profess to know the exact calculations, but 19 spaces are proposed, and I believe 15 are required. So we do slightly exceed that. I've been involved with, over my career, probably 150 different service station applications. And for the smaller convenient marts such as this, unlike the bigger Wawas and Quick Checks, we typically have a dozen spaces, 1 or 2 for the employees, and the balance are for customers. With having 19 and with having the fueling positions also act as de facto parking, meaning someone who's filling their vehicle can go into the store, pick up a snack, what have you. They function as though they are on-site parking spaces. So with that ability to have, I think it's 19, it'll be 31 parking spaces. In my opinion, it more than meets the amount of required parking for this type of use. And with that, there is some coordination required with DOT because as part of their project, they are changing the grades of the highway. You can see from some of the ongoing work how they're either depressing or raising the elevation of the highway. That's one of the reasons why we can't get ahead of that and in essence construct the final DOT design or driveways or even the sidewalk, because there'll be additional elevation changes. So all of that will be done by the state, but all of the proposed improvements are compatible with the DOT design. And unless there's something else, Michael, that's all I have in the way of my direct
I have no further questions for Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dean, I bring your attention to page 5 of 6 of our review letter dated 8 September, specifically traffic comments. Would your office have any issue providing the additional calculations that our team has identified?
My only concern, Mr. Mayhew, is, and first off, obviously as an outside agency, we will provide the board with the appropriate DOT approvals or exemptions from any permitting. With regard to comment number 2, the land use code cited in your letter is a rental car facility. So I don't think that's an appropriate land use code, and that may be the now obsolete part of the DOT permit system. The DOT permit system is using not the 11th version of ITE, they're still stuck in 10, so they haven't updated their own system. And as a result, their access management code specifically states that ITE, the current edition, shall serve as the basis for any permitting applications. But we will provide this board and obviously your professionals with the final DOT approvals. The letter that we wrote in terms of the exemption assumed that the DOT work would be completed, and that the Park Avenue access would be minimally used. We will take that up with the state. I do also want to let the board know that once the DOT does their project, they are obligated under their code to provide this property owner with a new permit. So regardless of how we get there through the state, we will provide that to your professionals. I don't take any other exception to the other comments in this review. And again, as an outside agency, we will provide that information to the board and your professional satisfaction. And at number 6, the proposed traffic arrows, I don't think we take any exception to that recommendation, just to clarify the directional intent.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayhew.
Squires, you're up.
I have no questions for Mr. Dean.
Okay, board members.
Hey, Mr. Dean, can you just clarify, I know other applications that come before this board involve increases, we'll just, I would term it as a destination. We put a building somewhere and now traffic is going to flow there. And I'm looking at Mr. Mayhew's letter referencing increases of 216, 147, 128 trips. My thinking is these are vehicles that are going down 206 anyway and are going to use that as a stopping point to refuel and, as you say, grab a bite or a snack. Can you comment on would you, in your opinion, say this would be a true increase in traffic or just an increase in stops based upon the business that'll be improved there?
A very astute observation, and allow me to clarify. When we look at DOT permitting, and I know Mr. Mayhew's, principally the traffic comments focused on our correspondence with DOT. DOT doesn't care where the traffic comes from, north or south. All they care about is how many additional cars come in and out of the site, and those numbers are correct. However, as we look at the characteristics of that traffic, and we've actually, as part of our work for Quick Check many years ago, we interviewed customers to find out, are you coming here to make a special trip, or are you on your way somewhere else? And your intuition is spot on in that 85 to 90% of the traffic is comprised of people who stop by because it's convenient and they're on their way home. The only time, candidly, I think of going to a gas station is when I ran out of gas cutting my lawn. And it's like, ugh, now I have to go to the gas station and then I go back home. But if we're commuting at our peak hours, I'm hard pressed to understand the sort of logic of someone that says it's rush hour on 206. I'm going to go out and get gas right now and then come back home. So virtually all of that traffic is what we call, the technical term is pass-by. And that is the nature of gas stations with convenience stores in particular. Thank you.
My question was very, essentially, what Mr. Pearson asked you here was very similar to what I would also be asking you in a slightly different way. Here is how I look at it, right? I understand the data points that have been provided, wherever we've extrapolated that from, right? But as a person, a resident of Hillsborough, what I'm thinking is, I'm coming down this way. We know what the gas station looks like right now. I see a nice little place. Also, given the unique, choke point, the chicken necking of that place, if I may use that expression, right? If I'm stuck there, I need to run to the bathroom. I'll stop at the gas station there, right? Not the gas station, but the convenience store. So if I wanted an estimate maybe, right? The rough rule of thumb, saying base case as what happens today, right? Cars running by versus stopping. What percentage, pure guess, should I see an increase there of? Now I understand the left turns, difficult, you might stop, might not stop. People coming south, what percentage, if we were to guess, would think we're going to see an incremental traffic, stopping there?
Where we've done before and after studies for even national corporations where they have a long-established gas operation, and they put in a convenience store, the traffic typically goes up 30 to 50%. It depends on the store of what's there today. For this station, recalling that it only does 20 vehicles per hour now, that'd be maybe 10 more, and they're all pass-by. Not a big number. However, I respect the process and the fact that your reviewing engineer will look at the same book I do. We took it that extra level to say, for this size store, for this number of fueling positions, what would that traffic be? And we put in our report that it jumps up from, instead of 20 vehicles per hour, it could go up to 84 vehicles per hour. So it's a big percentage, but then it's only 60 vehicles per hour. And I don't get excited about that. That's why I say it's a car a minute. And I want to ask you, I know time is tight, we want to hear from our planner, but if we were to sit here for a minute in dead silence, you'd be like, oh my God, that's an eternity. That's not a big traffic demand. So percentages are sometimes misleading, and that's why I do like to look at the volume for context. I'm hard pressed to say that the site is going to quadruple in volume, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least consider that possibility in our study. And just again share with you, as I look at the contemporary data, our projections, I know I said percentages, so let me quantify it. We overstated the morning traffic by 29 vehicles, and in the evening, it's 37. So we're less than, and I think that's more realistic of what the station will do. But yeah, it's a beautiful facility. And when I first saw the rendering, I said, ooh, that looks like Walgreens, and I was involved in that. And I think that's been a nice asset to the community, certainly as far as the architecture, and it's keeping that theme going. And I think it will certainly clean up what is not the prettiest station, with all due deference to the applicant, but
Indeed.
Certainly a step to modernize and make it more of a gateway statement.
That your estimate gives us a good, at least gives me a good understanding there, because I had two questions on my mind, and one sort of is tied to the other. First is traffic, of course, and the second is number of parking spots. So, I mean, there isn't really a question per se. I wanted to understand if there's a specific formula that we use. The DOT widening the entry, does it, kind of play to the increased number of, kind of parking spots or something? I do not know, but there should be some kind of a formula, I believe, right? And is it the township that governs it? I mean,
Yes, your ordinance requires 3.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet of building area.
Right.
And that yields, based on 3450, 15 required parking spaces, and we're providing 19
Right.
dedicated striped spaces. We get a 2-space EV credit, but they're phantom. And then we have the 12, just the dispenser spaces, knowing that it takes a few minutes to fill the tank, run in, get soda, whatever, lottery tickets, what have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that most of it, I mean, I think just as a habit, you're driving down a road, and if the gas station is crowded, you just keep going to the next one, right? So, no disrespect to help we're busy all the time, but if there's more than one opportunity to stop if you don't necessarily feel that the wait or the parking lot's full, right? I've done that at Quick Check, go by, go, no, we'll just pass that one and go to the next cluster somewhere down the road, but where I find the biggest problem, and this is just me, is the landscapers, the trucks and trailers tend to take up, they queue into a parking area. Obviously, it's one vehicle, but it's two, with an 18-foot trailer taking up a spot in a bay, and they're going to go in and load up their lunchbox with, 14 sodas, 6 waters, 6 lottery tickets, and 18 burritos or whatever they're going to get. And 10 minutes later, they come out and they're ready to move. And then sometimes they like to sit in the truck and have a snack. So you've allocated for that kind of possibility.
I can't disagree with that observation. The only thing those types of individuals tend to be creative, but generally considerate in where those vehicles are. And as we look at the northeast, and I don't have the ability to show the site plan, but the site has a lot of areas where that type of limited use could be accommodated without interfering with access to the canopy. The only other alternative is simply to say, all right, we'll put a sign up and prohibit it and go to Title 39.
Are there, talking about parking on Brown Avenue, or Park Avenue, I'm sorry.
Park, right.
Is anything that's prohibited from them parking on there and walking in?
If I can answer, the biggest challenge would be there's no way to turn around on Park. So if they go by the site, turn right on Park, they're facing west, there's no cul-de-sac at the end, so.
They're going to go into the parking lot to the left at the restaurant, because there's an entrance there they can spin around.
There is also no parking signs along Park Avenue.
Perfect.
There is no parking signs? Okay. Well, that's why I wanted to ask, so. If there becomes a problem, we have enforcement. Right. I'm done.
I have a question. I guess comparatively speaking, you guys said you own another store, very similar in Upper Saddle River, with the same setup and sandwich shop and whatnot. I know it's apples to oranges. It's not the same traffic patterns, obviously, over there. But just thinking through it, do you know the percentage of customers roughly that come in just for the sandwiches versus that are just stop by getting gas? I was just trying to think through it. Like, personally for me, I do go to Wawa just to get a sandwich because it's a good sandwich. The best case scenario is this place has really good sandwiches, and I'll go there just to get a sandwich. Is there any sort of data on that?
The difference is both Quick Check and Wawa started as convenience stores. And then they realized, to drive a little more convenience store business, and that was their primary revenue source. They said, combining this with fuel gives us the ability to, all right, we can sell some gas, but the real motivation is to drive more convenience store traffic. So the difference this is Phillips 66, which has, for decades been involved in the sale of motor fuels. To answer your question, the convenience store grew out of the tradition of having vending machines at gas stations, cigarettes, soda machines, candy and the like, not the freshest, et cetera. So now they got a little bigger, and we started with the mini marts that used to be, and I'm old enough to, if any of you are, they had the little mobile tuck mart. You had literally a kiosk underneath the canopy. Well, that wasn't big enough, and all right, so they kept growing and growing, and now they're tucked on the side. To answer your question, we've segregated that. We've done research counts at these combined operations, and it's about 40% fuel only, about 40% convenience store only, and about 20%, 20 to 15, and, you know, those are loose numbers, but 20 do both. So you're absolutely correct, that we know that there are certain customers. Now, those are the Quick Checks and Wawas. As for these, you know, different branded, hard to guess. It really is, but at least from the bigger boys, the Quick Checks and Wawas, that's how the percentages break out. The gas and C-store is pretty even in terms of traffic. Sales in the convenience store are higher. So there's that, you know, between lottery, cigarettes, other, you know, sandwiches, and then we have the 20%. So it does add to the gas business, and gas does go up with this component. So more people will stop because there's a convenience store they can run in. It's 5:30 at night, get a loaf of bread or milk or whatever's on the shopping list and go home instead of, you know, dealing with ShopRite's parking lot.
So if this, I just using that logic, if the store was a hit and the sandwiches are amazing, 40% of the traffic is going to come just to get the sandwiches.
Correct. But keep in mind, our traffic projections showed a 4 times increase in traffic. If I use those percentages I had the 40, 40, 20, my projections would be much lower. So we did assume that, yeah, this convenience store is really going to drive a lot more traffic. We did include that assumption.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, just before I open it up to public, just a real quick note. You may want to correct a couple of typos on pages 14, 15, and 17, I think. They wrote in the year 2014 instead of 2024. I think they just, because the project number ended in 14, I think they carried it over.
I don't have that many pages in my report, but
Well, I guess it was all scanned in.
Oh.
It's the data sheets or the survey sheets.
You are 100% correct.
Okay.
Mr. Donatelli has been with us a long time.
Yeah,
He did get the project number right, so I know it's 24.
And he
Thank
discovered
you,
time
Mr.
travel,
Chairman.
so.
Oh, look, he got it right on the other peak
Yeah.
hours. Good
All right.
catch. Thank you. Apologies
Okay,
for
no worries. Just wanted to get on the record, just. Yeah, I think first thing, can I have a motion to extend, what we think, 30 minutes? All right,
Well, the issue becomes Mr. Mayhew's exhibit and how we're going to deal with that, but for half an hour, yeah.
okay, may I have a motion to extend this hearing till 10:30 PM?
So moved.
Okay, can we do it by affirmation, or do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good, can I have a motion to open the public?
That's
Oh, we're already at public,
open.
so, all right, anyone passing the hallway, you want to come on in to
Have that right.
question Mr. Dean on his testimony?
Who's already left.
Okay, no, he's just hiding in the back, so. All right, no one's here, so. Final
Mr.
witness.
Chairman, our final witness is our professional planner, John Tykina, of his firm, All Things Planning and Development. I would ask him to swear him in and qualify him as an expert in the field of professional planning.
I do. John Tykina, T as in Thomas, A-I, K as in Kelly, I-N as in Nicholas A. I'm a licensed planner in the state of New Jersey, have been since I completed my studies at Rutgers University in 1992. Last 33 years I've done this, testified before planning and zoning boards around the state and across the country on behalf of applicants big and small. I was last here in September of 2024 and before your zoning board in 2023.
Okay, any objections? Okay, we accept, please continue.
Thank you. I am here to talk about the application from a planning standing point, specifically the variance justifications. I'm not going to repeat all the information that Eric and Jasvinder and Gary gave you on blocks and lots and areas and all that stuff. They did a great job. We do, most importantly from a zoning standpoint, in the HS Highway Service District, we do meet all of your conditions to be a gasoline service station with a retail convenience, which is the most important one. The balance of our relief is by and large due to existing conditions. with existing driveway widths, with lot widths, with lot areas, et cetera, all things that will be C1 relief relating specifically to the existing additions on the site. In terms of new quote-unquote variances, we do require a front yard variance for the new C-store, both from Route 206 and from Park Avenue. And we do require some additional impervious coverage. We're about 7% over on the acre. The balance, as I said, are variances that are related to the existing conditions. So in terms of the site, and again, how do I get this up there?
Dave, how do we project this? Because we're on it here. Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Jasminder. That's not
There's the site.
There we go. I like the pretty picture.
This is
A3. This is A3, previously in evidence. And this is, again, the building's really the star of the show here. Actually, the Pannoni exhibit is very helpful. It kind of does kind of lay out what was left to be able to place a building. And the applicant actually did all the right things. They actually even acquired more land to be able to make sure that, they could have the largest site possible to be able to provide an additional permitted use here. And actually, I submit to you, an additional permitted use that kind of goes to more of the purposes of the Highway Service District in terms of additional employment opportunities, additional destinations, and more to the pedestrianism of the township and the gateway as it leads into the business district and the town center. So in terms of, the challenge here is we have an existing existing service station with an existing canopy, existing gas pumps, existing gas tanks, all of which are in place. Really not a good reason to rip it all up and start over again, as we said, because there really wasn't a lot to gain. Because, again, a service station needs certain areas to be able to circulate. The driveways need to be a certain dimension to meet DOT and to meet our truck turning, as Mr. Dean said. We have all of those things. So the right thing to do was then to place the building in a spot where it fit, and where we could then use the building to satisfy the rest of the design criteria and the design guidelines that are set forth in the overlay. And I think the building did a great job of doing that. They broke it into two pieces. They made it different heights. It looks like a building that was, if you look at their historic barn vernacular, it was kind of built over time. Okay, we did this piece when, we had a good year this year, and we did that piece when we had a good year that year. And, it all kind of came together in a way that it does look somewhat of vernacular. And one of the benefits that's going to accrue to you in the township from having this site in the gateway is you're going to have another example of what you're looking for. You're not going to have to just say, look at Walgreens. You're going to be able to say, look at Phillips 66 as well, in terms of, what the vernacular architecture that you're looking for with some of your commercial buildings. And, for example, that you didn't get a quick check. Again, this applicant has gone above and beyond in terms of making sure that it does meet a lot of these standards. So in terms of the relief that's in question, as I said, we have a bunch of C variances that are specifically that are related to physical features on the site in terms of lot area, lot setbacks, lot depths, driveway dimensions, et cetera. And the balance are C2 variances, where we believe it's a better plan to have the building located where it is, even though it requires front yard setback variances from Park Avenue and from Route 206, because with this icon architecture, we're going to be able to anchor that corner in a way that it's not done today, and really establish the gateway before we get the new Conrail Bridge and all that stuff. But interesting, in terms of our front setback, when you sit in Park and you look to your right, and you sit in Park going out onto 206, and you look to your right and you line yourself up at the front of the restaurant, and you look to your left, you line yourself up with the canopy. So the canopy and the restaurant are at the same setback dimensions. So we kind of just dropped this building in the middle, and we're going to kind of continue that streetscape at that 29 feet, which we think is most appropriate. And again, if we're going to have the pedestrian connections, if we're going to have the sidewalks, we're going to have the walkway that connects you in, we're going to have all these windows, we're going to have architecture on Park Avenue that reflects these window elements, et cetera, that has the sidewalk, et cetera. We're going to want to make sure that it's a reasonable walk. You're not walking 50 feet across a front yard, to try and get to a building. You can get there in a reasonable, amount of time, and you're going to get actual pedestrianism, hopefully, along that corridor. So again, in terms of our variance justifications, as you know, there's 4 standards. First and foremost, relate to a particular piece of property. This relates to 144 Route 206, no other property. We don't convey any, what's the word I'm looking for? I just drew a blank. There's no precedence, thank you. There's no precedence that's carried forward because, we granted the front yard variance here, et cetera. No, we granted the front yard variance here because we had a funny looking corner and we put a great building on it. That's justification of granting a front yard variance. And if somebody wants to do that in the future, fine, you justified it on your own property. There's no precedence because you granted it here. We have our C1 or C2 justification, again, relating to the physical features or exceptional features on site, or that it's a better plan. It's a better planning alternative to have what we're proposing than a conforming plan. We advance some of the purposes of zoning, and I'll talk about that. And as with all of your variances, that we meet your negative criteria. You're not going to have any substantial detriment to public good. We're not going to have a substantial impairment to your zone plan or your master plan. So in terms of the variances, I think, as I said, all the C1s, they're driven by the existing lot shape, relief for lot area, setbacks, driveway dimensions, street tree relief. We have overhead wires on 2 frontages. We have aerial easements on the frontage and on the corner. So we're going to try and work around that, get good landscaping. But again, planting street trees in that area is not possible. So we're going to take advantage of the township ordinance that allows us to pay. Further, the oddly shaped corner lot in the corner configuration drives placing the building closer to park to continue to permit adequate parking and fueling movements. And again, consistent with Lang v. Board of Adjustment, a grant of a variance can be supported if it permits improvements that are of normal size and shape for the utility. So, because we're on a small site, we're not going to all of a sudden have 15-foot parking spaces. Parking spaces need to be a normal size. We need to have the right dimensions to have the truck circulate, et cetera. So just because we're on a 1-acre site, we don't get to shrink everything by 50%. Fortunately or unfortunately, everything has to stay at its normal size. And in our C2 variances, we think the proposed building configuration provides a better planning alternative for the use. The impervious coverage is a result of providing appropriately dimensioned circulation improvements to allow for fueling, convenient access, and parking. In terms of our advancing our purposes of zoning, I'd submit to you there are 3. G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of uses in accordance with their environmental requirements. The site is an appropriate location for C-store and gas as set forth by your zoning. And the Route 206 frontage with added side street access. Adding additional stormwater and landscaping ensures that we satisfy the environmental requirements. And we heard the site, much like virtually every existing gas station in New Jersey, is under continued groundwater monitoring and has a Fortune 100 company behind making sure that cleanup happens. I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. The new site will be substantially better looking than the existing. It's a better building with more landscaping. It's going to be a better looking site, a more attractive sign. And frankly, the building is going to be an icon for the northern entry into the town. And M, to encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development, a view towards lessening the cost of such development and to the more efficient use of the land. Again, the applicant needs to run the gauntlet of all those agencies, DOT, Somerset County, including coordinating with DOT improvements, township soil erosion, meeting 4 or 5 master's requirements, and making sure that they're all met and that we still provide for an attractive site that's efficiently and can operate. And we chose to use the existing improvements, and that's, frankly, a more efficient use of the land than it would be scraping the whole thing and starting anew. In terms of In terms of our negative criteria, no substantial detriment to public good, no impairment to the zone plan and zoning ordinance. Again, we advance the purposes of zoning, which is a substantial benefit to the public good. The development takes into account the need to enhance and protect the surrounding environment, and certainly benefits granting the relief that substantially outweigh any detriments. Again, we're providing for all the right lighting, we're providing better landscaping. We're going to have a great looking building at your gateway. In terms of your ordinance, I'm sorry, there's no detriment as well. The new building is attractive, moves it closer to providing a gateway look to the town center. Pulling up to the street enhances pedestrianism. We'll have full sidewalk improvements when DOT gets around to doing their improvements. We will connect to them and actually have a place for you to walk. I'm a sidewalk guy, so again, I think full sidewalk's a good idea. In terms of your master plan reexamination talks about encouraging commercial development or redevelopment in suitable areas of the community that are most economically useful for commercial purposes. Mr. Coys was nice enough to cite the Highway Service District purpose, which creates a special land use transition into and out of the gateway and the town center development. And again, I think this is a great opportunity of a gateway site. We're taking an existing service station use, dressing it up, providing some icon architecture, providing for additional modest employment along portions of 206, and providing for planned mixed-use development and home occupations. So again, while we are an auto use, again, we think our lighting is not extensive or excessive, our signage is appropriate for the use, and our traffic requirements, as Mr. Dean said, can certainly be accommodated. In terms of your architectural and site design overlay, A was to provide a more defined community identity through integration of creative design components, which will enhance the functional and desirable forms of development. I think with this architecture of this building, again, it's going to be your second example. It's not going to be just Walgreens. Don't go look at Walgreens. Look at Walgreens. Look at what they did with a C-store, okay? We did this with a C-store, all right? That's something. You're doing something. To develop architectural and site design standards which are reasonable and predictable, and provide for creation of a functional pedestrian-oriented development within the township. Check. Here we are. Again, you'll get to point to it and say, look what this C-store gas station did. If they did it, you can do it. To promote a desirable visual environment, obviously, to improve the image and economic vitality of the township, supporting the town center, and protect the township's quality of environment while promoting beneficial economic development and growth. Again, substantial investment in the town. It's going to be a better site at your gateway. And coordinating public and private investments. Obviously, we're coordinating with DOT, making sure that investment is going to be worth it when it comes, and giving the township a great gateway use along the way. So, for those reasons, I believe you have the ability to grant the relief requested, whether it's C1 or C2. I think the benefits outweigh the detriments on a whole. That is the standard. It really is a whole project, outweigh the fact that there are variances included. I recognize that, quote unquote, there's a lot, but there's a lot because they relate to the existing site. The substantive ones are the new front yard setback and the impervious coverage. And we think placing the building there is a better spot than trying to stick it somewhere else where it didn't belong. It does something that's beneficial up at that corner, and that's going to be good for the township. You have the ability to grant the relief. I'm available for your questions.
Thank you. Ms. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, could you address whether the front yard setback off of Park Avenue, let's say, is the minimum necessary variance for the site? And given the amount of building coverage that's falling over the required setback line, is this the minimum size building that's required for the site?
I believe it is. I mean, I don't do as much C-store work as Mr. Dean does, but I do a substantial amount of it, probably about 30 of them last year. Typically, they're 5,500 to 6,000 square feet. So dropping down to 3,450 square feet is getting into the minimum range of what you would do as an effective C-store. That's one you're going to want to go to. It's interesting. Mr. Deb talked about being able to go to the bathroom. You can't do that today, but you'll be able to do that tomorrow. that, again, it's a building that's big enough, it's going to have restrooms for the public, they're going to be clean and well done and all those good things. I've been to Elmer's up in Upper Saddle River. I didn't know it when I was there, but again, it's a clean, well-run store. You know, so again, yes, I think this is about the minimum size. And the challenge here is the existing driveway, outbound driveway onto 206, really sets the edge of where those parking spaces can be. And then if we go 18 feet from the parking spaces and then 5 feet for the walkway, we only get left with what we have. And we decided 10 feet was a good number for the setback along the park. I think that's totally reasonable for a minor street like that. Again, it's quote-unquote a blank wall. We'll dress it up the best we can, but it's not going to have a negative impact on park or its streetscape or the bar across the street. Again, I recognize that it's small compared to 40. I mean, I don't think 40 is a good setback, period. I much prefer 10. But most importantly, from an urban design standpoint, it pulls it up to the corner and anchors it and says something. Hey, look, this is a different place. You pass the beauty of Duke Farms, then you get, you know, days in, you get extra space storage. You're about to get a shot at them soon. You get the auto body place, which actually doesn't look bad. It's an attractive auto body place. And then you're going to have a great looking store here and an interesting bar and restaurant. Again, and we're in line with the interesting bar and restaurant and our canopy. And then we step back a little bit to the auto body place, and then, you know, extra spaces back because of the jug handle. So I think it's in the right spot. I could move it closer to 206, frankly, but I think we dropped it in line with the other buildings, and that's the right spot.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Coyce.
Good evening, Mr. Taikina. I apologize if I missed it. I just wanted to make sure. Did you have anything to address the signage, the variance associated with the signage?
Actually, I did not.
Okay.
Thank you. The signage, these are C2 variances. For the monument sign, it is larger than is allowed by the ordinance. 30 square feet is frankly very, very small. They actually, when you build them, they kind of look kind of funny. Again, so we think this is the minimum size to represent the three elements that we need for Phillips 66, for the store, and for the price. Unfortunately, we're not Wawa, where we only have one name, and you need one name and price, or Quick Check, you need one name and price. We kind of need two. So we think that, and we think the icon of Phillips 66 is important. Taking an independent to a national brand is a great thing. So we like having that store. It's frankly an iconic signage element. So we think it's important. As Jasvinder said, we could push and pull around the Phillips 66 a little bit. We'll make sure that it's that our sign is opaque white, so that we not a light bulb. I don't like that either. And only our element is illuminated, internally illuminated. But I think it's the appropriate size. I guess State v. Miller is the case that a variance for a sign is supported when it's believed that that is the size that is appropriate to provide for good visibility from the road up and down. I think the mayor had a good suggestion to either add a sign to the south side, I guess it's the west side of the building, 206 south side of the building, and either instead of 206 or added an additional, have the waiver for the additional one there. Again, I think more elements on that frontage are appropriate from a design standpoint, and I think that relief would be appropriate and is reasonable for the board to grant as a waiver. So and then the rest of the negative criteria, et cetera, all applies.
Thank you. I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board members.
Good evening. Thanks for your testimony. Does Phillips 66 have any, does the national body have any franchise rules, operation rules that this facility is going to run under, or when it comes to the restaurant? or the convenience store part of it? And the only reason, and the reason I'm asking.
No, they would not control it.
They would not.
No.
Okay. Do we know who will control it?
The applicant.
So they'll run the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention, that we may want to put a demising doorway between the two uses potentially, just because the hours of operation are not going to be consistent with the convenience store, so think that more of a field change, but it's going to be owner operated for the food portion of the convenience store.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, anyone passing the hallway? Okay. So I guess now I will ask the people passing the hallway, last bite at the apple. I don't see anybody, so motion to close to public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Grodnick, closing.
So quiet in here.
We could start the count. We could start the.
I can walk to my car without an escort. We believe that these upgrades of this outdated fuel station represent a modern convenience facility with a blend of classic, almost barn-like rural American building forms with modern materials and commercial functions. And again, the relief requested really summarizes here is based upon the existing size, shape, and the long-standing nonconformities from the construction of this site back in the 1970s. Our design team has worked to create a visually appealing and context-sensitive commercial building instead of a purely functional Bach-like convenience store. And we would ask the board to approve this application. We think it's a real improvement of what's there, and we'd hope everybody would consider that to be a good improvement to the gateway.
Thank you. Mr. Bernstein.
Mr. Mayu, you provided to the board Exhibit B1. Do you believe, and I'll ask the same question of Mr. Coyce, that the testimony addresses all of the various variances that are being sought by the applicant?
Mr. Bernstein, I'll leave it to the board, I guess, to decide whether the variances have been addressed, but I can say that I heard testimony discussing each of the variances, if that's what you're looking for.
I could basically add to that. Each point was, and again, the board can decide if they were met or not, but I agree with Mr. Mayhew, especially on our side of things, that each part was talked about. And now it's up to the board to decide if it meets the criteria for relief. Thank you.
You've all been provided with the Pannoni exhibit. In light of the evidence, the board has to at least give consideration to whether or not, on top of the testimony you received, whether or not you are interested in approving or requesting additional items related to the variances sought.
So question for Mr. Mayhew then, or for anybody. The way I'm looking at, and thank you for providing this. This is a big help to Mr. Deb's question also, is to kind of quantify this. But the way I'm reading this is that really most everything is an existing nonconformity, except for the minimum rear yard, which are two variances, the monument sign coverage and the monument sign naming. Everything else looks like it's an existing, and the proposed is the same as the existing nonconformity. So I think those 3 or 4 issues were testified on, and I think I'm okay with it.
I concur, Mr. Pearson, with what your summary, except I think you might have missed their increasing impervious cover. and they're decreasing front yard setback with the addition of the building. But the rest, as you mentioned, are existing conditions.
Well, your chart shows existing 67.4 and proposed 67.4 for maximum total impervious coverage, variance 5, or V5.
The way I read it is, it's 46.4% existing, which is to be increased to 67.4, unless I'm reading it wrong.
Oh, that's a great point, Mr. Pearson. I think that's a typo in our chart. Yes. You're
I
looking
was
at the
relying
site-
on your chart.
You're looking at the site data chart at the bottom left corner. And if there's any confusion with the numbers, then the applicant's numbers should be the ones that we would use. And I think on the applicant's own plan, as Mr. Deb said, there's existing impervious is in the 47% range.
Right.
And that's what's stated in your review memo.
Correct. So I apologize for the typo in the site data chart.
Yeah, so this lot's obviously, it's a very constrictive lot. There isn't any real room for growth. They did buy the land that they could acquire to try and help with setbacks. I'm sad to say I've been in this town long enough to know what was in this spot back to the Gulf Station in the early 70s. And it wasn't nearly as attractive as what the applicant has proposed. You know, the building where it is and the side setback on the, what they call the rear setback, because it's two frontages it's really just an access road. It's not a very heavily traveled road, so, you know, the 10-foot setback is really of all the variances they're asking here, I think is the most egregious, if you want to say, of all of them. But really, with the site constriction, there isn't any real place to put the property. The building in itself is attractive enough to feel that it outweighs the detriment of really a very low traveled road.
Sean, I agree. I think based upon the surrounding properties and the use of the surrounding properties, it's pretty appropriate and an improvement.
So, and I think what's been testified too is I think there's agreement as some of the conditions here and what was in the review memo, I think the applicant's already agreed to address those or to buy those or the requests, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, based on the testimony provided and the applicant's willingness to address areas that were brought by the board with addressing the landscaping on the side and fixing the wall to have it more aesthetically with some faux windows, et cetera, and all the other agreements as far as providing testimony and information for the plans, I'd make a motion to approve the application.
Okay, we have a motion for approval.
I'll second that motion and, appreciate the effort to improve the site. As you described, kind of an anchor, at least in the gateway, and something more appealing to look at in that area. So I second.
And I think the folks that are over at Doherty Park will be very happy too. Okay, so we have a motion for approval on the floor. Any comments? Okay, can I ask for a roll call, please?
And before I begin, Mr. Smith, unfortunately, you are number 10, so you don't get called. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Flagg?
Yes.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mr. Deb?
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
Chair Sirachi?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Like the football.
All right.
I always have a good time here.
Does Mr. Ogrodnik still need an escort?
Thank you all. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so before we adjourn, we have a business meeting, or do we need that? Okay, so may I have a motion to cancel the September 25th business meeting?
Second.
I can do it by acclamation, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the meeting's canceled. We do have a meeting on October 9th because we just scheduled.
I would remind the board that there is a meeting on October 9th. There's a new application that's been added. For some of you were here, others were not. It's Green Care Farms. I will remind those members of the board who are participating in the Harvard Way
The core five.
application,
Fab
the
Five.
Fab Five, that it is October 16th, and if for some reason you know that date is going to become a problem, while Mr. Ogrodnik clutches his chest, please let Mr. Coyce know sooner than later so we can address it accordingly.
Okay.
I would
Okay,
rather
so-
not wait until the day of in order to come.
All right, with that being said, I will entertain a motion of adjournment. Okay, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. See everyone on October 9th.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday, David. I wish.